How to repair show will start soon. Say your questions. Grab a drink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Good afternoon all. Welcome to Cumbria. I crossed over the other day from Northern Ireland, took the ferry from Port just up above Belfast, crossed over towards Dumfries and then drove down to the Lake District where I am in Penrith. And we've got a few guests coming on today from all walks in the industry to basically discuss heat pump tumble dryers and the new legislation that's been forced upon us. I have nothing against the technology, but when the appliances are not lasting the test of time, I'm against it. Technology is brilliant, but sometimes it's just being forced upon us too early. And we're going to be talking with several engineers today, a couple from Ireland, couple from, one from Northern Ireland, one here beside me at the moment, who I'll introduce in a second, and also about 3 or 4, depending on who can take time off to actually jump on the show, because a lot of people have got their own lives, of course, and one's in Cornwall at the moment and he's worried about reception, and another one's traveling as well. So firstly, let me introduce my guest, Quabs. He runs a company called Arm. Well, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's Eden Arm. We're based in the Eden Valley area at the moment, covering Penrith and the Eden Valley, but also building a business up in Aberdeenshire, north of the border here. So,
okay. Now, I basically am going to be asking everyone that comes on the show the same type of questions today. Heat pump tumble dryers are being forced upon us by legislation because they are using a lot less energy. But the main problem with heat pump tumble dryers is they are very bad to service. They are atrociously bad at causing faults in non-reasonable amount of time. And when I say that, on models which are, how can I put this, cheaper end to mid-range, they are only lasting 3 to 5 years. And on the high-end models, Tom, who will be coming on shortly, has had a heat pump tumble dryer for years and had no problems. But on a lot of occasions, a lot of people are unhappy with this technology. They are taking twice as long to dry the clothes. They are causing more problems than they're worth with reliability. And even yesterday, when I was out filming with Quabs, we met a lady from Brooklands guest house, and she's actually been on TV and everything. So she was on a show called Four in a Bed, which really shocked me when she said that. But she runs a 12-bedroom B&B.
I think it's 8-bedroom.
8-bedroom, is it?
Yeah.
And she has all the laundry to do, and she's got a very restricted area to do it. And she's got condenser tumble dryers at the moment. And these new tumble dryers are going to be forced upon her. Now, the washing machines are going to be able to achieve the laundry that needs to be done. But if these heat pump tumble dryers are taking twice as long to dry, how is she ever going to get the bedding done? and we had a great conversation on that, and we'll have that video ready in about 3-4 weeks time. We're just about to launch DAS video shortly with Barry. You've already seen the Tom videos, which were down in County Clare. So first thing I really was asking you, yes, we've had conversation, everything over the last day or so. What's your honest opinion of the way the technology is with regards to consumer? You know, what do you think of heat pump tumble dryers from a consumer's point of view? What are they saying to you?
Well, I have had a couple that have thought that, yeah, it's been great, it's worked fine for them.
Reduced
But the
energy bills and stuff like that.
Energy
Yeah.
bills and so forth, and they're quite happy from that perspective. But a number that I've spoken to, especially those who need to use it more often, who maybe have larger families and so forth, for them it's been an absolute nightmare. The length of time they actually takes to dry the clothes, for one thing, and then also when it decides that it's not going to perform, it really doesn't perform, and so people are putting it on several times in order to dry the clothes.
Yeah, and you know, some of these loads are taking 3 to 4 hours minimum. Yeah.
I was at one today. I sent you the video. I don't think.
Yeah, no, Burkai's got the video, which he'll bring up on the screen. I wasn't with him today.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was all dishwasher.
You can see that we've
today,
already got some of that on there.
Oh.
Right now, I'm gonna have to try and brush that off, but I can see already that those kind of fins there, or whatever you call them, have already been bent slightly when somebody possibly has tried to clean that already. So I'm going to let the customer know about that, and yeah, I just thought you might like to see that for your.
Thanks for putting that clip up, Burkai. Now, for everyone who really doesn't know how heat pump technology works, I actually Burkai made a diagram for me today showing you all the components in a heat pump tumble dryer. And if you could bring that up on screen for us, Burkai. Here we have a heat pump tumble dryer, which is exactly the same as a normal tumble dryer, apart from it doesn't have a heating system. It rotates clockwise, rotates anti-clockwise. The air coming from the filter in the door then comes down onto an evaporator, and it travels through the evaporator, collecting the water out of the air. It then reheats the air, going back into the machine with the condenser, and a compressor runs all this. The compressor relies on information with airflows from NTC sensors, and the water then drains down to a pump, to a collection tray, which is then taken to the top collection tray on most models of machine. Now, when these filter systems block up, there are some serious issues that occur, not only with the machines not drying in the adequate period of time, they just are not getting the clothes dry, and the filters block up again and again. Now, when I was at IFA in Berlin recently, year before last, the filter systems in these dryers had been increased by nearly all the manufacturers. The normal tumble dryer used to have just one filter in the door. Most of these heat pump tumble dryers nowadays have 2 filters in the door and another filter down on the condenser, the evaporator area. And these things are clogging up no end. This actually is from a condenser dryer, not a heat pump dryer, this image. But I'm just showing you the amount of fluff that can build up over time. Now, a lot of these dryers, you must remember, on vented and condenser tumble dryers, this is the heat exchange, the heat exchange process. You've got an evaporator and a condenser here. and you can actually see the fluff level starting to build up on both of these systems. And these are not old machines. These are machines that are used on a regular basis over 2-3 years. This is happening on all heat pump tumble dryers. On the high-end heat pump tumble dryers, they have auto cleaning systems, but we are normally talking about tumble dryers that cost in excess of £800-900. What I call run-of-the-mill tumble dryers are between 350 on the cheapest to the very cheapest on the market today, which is nearly double the price of a vented dryer. And going upwards, I would say run-of-the-mill is around the £500 mark. Now, when you consider that this type of blockage is occurring in a short period of time, and the inaccessibility to actually repair the machines, this is the major issue with the machines, that they're not easy to work on. It's not like a condenser tumble dryer where you just slot out the whole condensing unit, take it to the shower and give it a clean. This is a unit which is a refrigeration unit, so you can't separate it from the compressor, or it's filled with gas, and it's normally R600 gas in these units. There's no other gases you've come across on the heat pump dryers. It's only the 600s.
Yeah.
Predominantly they're all 600 machines. And the serviceability on all these machines, and you're not going to hear just from me today or Quabs. You're going to hear from 5 or 6 people in the industry, and they all say the same thing. Where a tumble dryer used to be able to be repaired in component cost, not labor, a new heater, for example, would be £30. A set of thermostats may be £20. Other normal run-of-the-mill parts like belts and other bits and pieces are pretty much the same on both dryers. But the accessibility to maintain these machines is really, really difficult. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk to you, Quabs, was how easy did you find these machines to work on?
Well, like I said, for the most part, I don't work on them. Yeah, I'll be totally honest with you. When I'm called to a heat pump, because of the experience that I had with them in the past, generally, I ask them what the problem is, and if it's anything to do with the drying performance isn't any good, I generally turn it down, because I know that's going to involve the heat exchange unit.
Yeah. And you work predominantly only in customers' houses.
That's right.
I
don't have a workshop to bring
you don't
stuff
have
back.
a workshop or anything else.
No.
So, the big problem here is when we speak to Barry, they have a guy in their workshop, and all he does all day is do services. The tumble dryers are bought back from customers' houses. They're brought into the workshop, and then they are completely, not only the repair is done on the machine, the whole machine is serviced, and the evaporator and condenser are cleaned. Someone R290, I do realize they may use, thanks very much for chucking that in, but there are different gases on the I think it's 600 and 290. I'm not sure on all the gases. I personally am not a refrigeration engineer, and of course all engineers who work on the gassing side of heat pump tumble dryers have to be certified to work on gas units. And this is just another expense engineers have to have to be even to work on these machines correctly. Now, the next question I want to ask you from your point of view.
Can I just say as well,
certainly.
when it comes to the regassing, I don't know, you may have some actual refrigeration engineers on here, because much like yourself, I don't do refrigeration.
No, that's fair enough. We're going to be talking to people who do the gassing.
But what I've understood from a number of people is that a lot of those regassing jobs that are done, they don't tend to be long lasting, those repairs.
Yeah.
So very often you know, it's one of the reasons why I stayed away from it, because I don't want to be that guy that affects my business reputation, you know.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And you know, the other problem being is this is not a machine that you can easily work on in a customer's kitchen. You are having, for example, most of the manufacturers now are producing a replacement evaporator, compressor and condenser all as one unit, so it doesn't even need to be gassed. If you had to repair or regas a system because it's become low on refrigerant, this is not something you can easily do in a customer's kitchen. Not only does the drum on the machine have to come out, you also have to be using oxyacetylene or heat torch to actually do the brazing on the pipes and other bits and pieces. And this is not something you can do in someone's kitchen, especially if they have children running around and everything else. I mean, the whole machine is not really designed to be repaired. And this is why I'm actually doing this show today. And we've put all the effort in to actually bringing this information to light, because government seems to be enforcing laws upon us, but not really understanding what the problem is. Yes, we need to reduce energy, but you'd be much better off having a few solar panels on your house than you would be heat pump. One, the solar panels come with a 20-year guarantee, most of them, where the heat pump tumble dryer on the lower end is only 12 months. It's absolutely ludicrous. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is the machine in different environments. Now, excuse me chewing a mint, by the way, because I know I'm going to be talking for 2-3 hours today, so I got to say lubricated with mints rather than beer. When we talk about the situation that most tumble dryers are located, now you are in Cumbria.
Yes.
Give me percentage numbers that you see in customers' kitchens or customers' utility rooms or even in outside sheds and garages.
I would say you've got a good 20% of the appliances that I work on, tumble dryers, washing machines in particular, are in outhouses, sheds, garages.
So that's 20% of them that are in sheds and garages, guaranteed.
Yeah, and then you've got another set. Most of them are in utility rooms. Some will be heated, but a lot of them aren't.
And when the winter kicks in with this heat pump technology, and when we really need dryers, especially in the UK, we get a lot of people on the channel watching from overseas and everything else. Britain is a country that predominantly, for 3 months of a year, the outside air temperature is below 5 degrees. Yeah. Now that is at the minimum or below the minimum requirement where a heat pump tumble dryer will work.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say 5 degrees. Yeah.
Now, the optimum temperature for a heat pump tumble dryer, would you agree with me, is between 15 and 20 degrees?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The higher temperature that you go to, of course, they become less efficient. And the lower temperature you go to, they become less efficient. And they will not really dry clothes at all once we end into sub-zero temperatures. Now, you actually, this question that I've got on my sheet here doesn't really apply to you, because you were the great advocate that had a conversation with me maybe a month ago. And you found me because of my channel, and you were basically saying, would you be willing to support the petition with regards putting this into Parliament to try and get legislation changed? And I agreed with you 100%, and that's why I'm here today with Quabs, is because he's someone that cares about the community and also about this ludicrous change that is being forced upon us. Now, I am very disappointed, and I think even you would be disappointed. we've had on these heat pump videos at the moment in excess on my channels. I did a count up earlier today, in excess of 2 million views about heat pump technology. And we have only, and it's not because people are disagreeing. It is people are very lazy and they are looking at the videos and leaving a comment saying, oh, I agree with you 100%. I've had a heat pump tumble dryer and it's failed within the first 2 years. I've had X problem, Y problem. It takes forever to dry the clothes. All sorts of comments have come in. And I added up the comments today on the videos. And we've got over 5,000-6,000 comments that have come in.
Wow.
But yet only 800 people have bothered to sign the petition. And I don't know if it's because they're not finding the link or they're just too bloody lazy and not getting off their arse and spending 3 minutes to fill the petition in. I actually looked at my home county. Now, my home county is Monmouthshire or Newport, you know, in that area. And when I looked at the petition map, I saw only 4 people had signed it. And these people expect me to go out and repair their tumble dryers when I'm at home and stuff like that. And I just think people have become accepting that this is going to be forced on us one way or the other.
And, you know, I think that's a general attitude for a lot of us. To be honest with you, until I saw your video where you were talking about it, and
the heat pump tumble dryer video that I did all the
until I saw that video where you were talking about it, I had pretty much just resigned myself to, well, this is coming in at some point. I'd already been told that certain manufacturers have stopped producing them, so I was just like, well, this is just, I'm probably gonna have to, after a few years, I'll just be writing off tumble dryers from my business. But then it was, as I say, from watching your video, that actually inspired me to say, well, actually, do you know what? We don't really need to just accept this. You know, if we are against it, we should vocalize that and let that be known. And so, you know, I think the opportunity is there. I think a lot of these, in fact, another thing that we have to do as well, is that as well as signing the petition, those who, not everybody will do this, but those amongst us who
that care,
who and who maybe have the time and feel that it's to actually approach your local MP. Approach your local MP, go to their surgery and actually say that, because I tell you what, most of them, I can guarantee you, don't even know about it. They don't understand.
Well, I think politicians today, I'm sorry to say, do not come from a real world scenario. They go to school, they get qualifications, they come out, they go to university, they study to become into the political sphere, and then go straight into politics, and they have no real world experience. And one of the big problems I have is, how can you implement laws on people and not know what it's like to live on £30,000 a year? What it's like to be struggling as a family that has to look after school's children clothing and have it ready for school the next day. Because a lot of families, especially inner city families, can't afford to buy 5 sets of school uniform and this, that and the other. I mean, they've got 1 set of school uniform and that's got to be washed and dried by the morning. And you've got kids or a daughter, and you know, they get dirty when they're at school and they're 10 years old or 11 years old. They fall over in the playground, they get muddy, they get this. That kit needs to be good for the next day. I don't even have children, and I can see this. And this is a huge problem. Government are inflicting laws upon us and not really getting a clear understanding of what it's like to live in the real world. Some of these politicians, by the way, send their laundry out. It goes to a laundry service and they write it on expenses, including their toilet seats as well, certain politicians.
And I mean, you know, I think the thing is that the majority of the public, and even I would say, as you've just mentioned here, politicians, they're doing it, and the good ones, they're doing a lot of, you know, good things. They've got a number of things that they're looking at when they have to read papers. They're quite lengthy and all this kind of stuff, and maybe they have somebody that reads them and then gives them the blow by blow.
Yeah.
But the detail of things they're not necessarily getting to, and that's where Joe Public, who we think that we have absolutely no power, we can make no difference or anything like that, but actually we can, when we actually go and have these conversations and actually highlight the reality of what the situation is to these people, some of them will actually pay attention and realize, well, actually, I didn't know that. I didn't realize this kind of situation. And so, you know, I think the thing to do is to give the opportunity to the politician to actually make the right decision. Give the opportunity to ourselves to actually contribute to getting this discussion had. So 10,000 signatures is the minimum that we want to get.
Yeah.
To get an official response, a letter of response. However, you know, we've got a good period of time where we can get 100,000. I think we can get more than 100,000 signatures. And if people who are viewing right now, if we share the petition, people who will view this later on, share the petition, and let's get it, you know, let's get it highlighted.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. One of the things I want to say here is it's not just about spending the 2-3 minutes it takes to sign the petition. It's about going down your local cafe, going down your local bar, and just explaining to people, go watch this video, it'll explain everything. Because come a couple of years' time, when this gets forced upon us, you're going to be contacting people like myself to repair the machines. You'll be contacting Quabs to get machines, and most engineers are going to turn around and say, I'm not willing to take on the job. And this means that you're going to have to go out and buy a new tumble dryer every, you know, 4 or 5 years, and the dryer is not as effective as your old dryer. We went out to a lady the other day that had the American vented dryer, and she, you know,
16 years, and look at it. I mean,
it's like
how it was like brand new.
But the other funny thing with that lady, which was really funny, was she hadn't even, and she blatantly said on camera, I haven't been bothered. You know, and it just proves the fact that people are lazy and everything.
But she's gonna do it. She's gonna do it. I trust. She might be watching this right now. I trust that you're gonna sign it. Okay, you know who you are. I'm not mentioning your name. I trust that you're gonna sign it, and we'll speak when you get back from holiday. All right.
Well, he's the positive side of things. I'm slightly on the negative. I really feel nowadays that people are becoming lazy and just accepting the fact that these laws are going to be put on us one way or the other. Before I start answering these questions, Berkay, I am just going to copy the link you sent me, because everyone who's watching this, we are bringing guests on from all over the UK, United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland, excuse me. And I'm going to be basically bringing on people throughout the show. This is going to be a couple of hours show, and we will try to get through as many questions as possible. But I just want to make sure that all these people, so I've got to, Tom was going to be our first guest. So I'm going to pass Tom a link now so he can get ready and come in as well. We've already done a couple of videos on Tom, who is in County Clare in the Republic of Ireland. And he has been an engineer for longer than me. He started in, I forget the year he started, 1960 something. And he's 76 years old and still on the tools today. And that's what I called him in the video. So I've just passed him a link, and he might pop in with Berkay in a second. And Berkay, could you let us know when Tom is available?
Of course, mate.
So I will start reading some of these questions, and you've got new internet today, so I can actually read everything that's coming up on the screen. Paula Hicks, good afternoon to you. Hi guys, when I bought a heat pump tumble dryer last year from a big local supplier in Cornwall, I told them about the ban that was coming in. They told me they have hundreds of vented dryers. I know a lot of clever cookies in the industry who have been buying up vented dryers and condenser dryers because what is going to happen is as soon as this ban gets implemented, these tumble dryers, and I don't blame them, they're in business to make money, yeah? But these tumble dryers are going to jump from 180 for a vented dryer up to £250 overnight. Not because these people have invested the money in these vented dryers and condenser dryers for the purpose of to make profit when this law comes into place. And, you know, to be honest, I'm very proud of them in some ways, but they're not helping the fact. But, you know, at the end of the day, there is going to be a huge demand for people who want vented and condenser dryers if this ban gets put into place. And, you know, people who have a lot of laundry to do need to do it quickly, or they keep their machines in outhouses or outbuildings, are really going to be screaming to buy a vented and condenser dryer in the future. And this is where I think the law is really not being looked at correctly. What they're trying to implement, they are great for apartment blocks and things like that. I've got no problems with that because people aren't able to put solar on and they want to reduce their bill. So that is a good purpose for heat pump tumble dryers. But if it only lasts 3 years, where is the benefit to the consumer?
Nowhere.
The only benefit that's going to come to anyone is the manufacturers who are making more money than, well, than I could count. Yeah, it is absolutely ludicrous how they're implementing not only the greed of obsolescence in washing machines, they are now applying it to tumble dryers as well. And it has got to stop. This industry has to change. Okay, thank you, Paula, for that one.
Can I just feed in a little story
certainly.
here? Yeah, it's going to be relevant to this. So I went to a heat pump tumble dryer in somebody's home about maybe 2 months ago, and it was a young couple, and the guy, I had to say to them, look, there's nothing that I can do with this one. Again, they were complaining of it was drying performance, and they were having to put it on several times. It was in a utility room which was warmed, right? But you know, there was nothing that I could find to be able to resolve this issue here. So he said to me, the guy came back and he said he's got his grandmother's vented dryer
still working.
Yeah, still working in the place. And he said, and it's older than me, and he's 30 years old.
Look, when I was in the video,
old hot point vented.
Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing you say that because last week I was in Frail's Bar in Northern Ireland, and hidden in the corner, and I didn't even know about this, was a hand crank machine. And it's still working. It's still fully functional. 115-year-old still decent technology today. It's ludicrous.
I actually would advise, even though we're trying to win this and beat this situation, I would actually advise for people, if they have or know people that have these old appliances, you don't necessarily need to throw them away.
Oh no, very much so. I mean, human beings are exceedingly wasteful. We live in a society today where it is just, oh, it's not worth my time. It's going to take me 2 hours. I'll just nip down to Covey's and buy a new one, because they don't have to repair things. They don't, you know, it's just, it seems to be a throwaway society that we live in, and we are being brainwashed by the manufacturers. The younger generation today think that a washing machine is normal to last 5 years. And it's only 30 years ago. If you had a machine that lasted 5 years, you'd have been kicking blue murder. slowly the manufacturers have reduced the lifespan of machines down to a level now where the younger generation think it is normal for a washing machine to only last 3 or 5 years. And it's getting worse and worse. But it's not being created because of technology. It is being created because of obsolescence built in by the manufacturers and their sheer greed. Okay, let me see if I can get through some of these questions before Tom appears. MHG 1023, good afternoon to you. German here. I bought 1.5 years ago a Bosch WQG 235D90, our first dryer. So any experience on repairability in case these I can't tell you on the show, mate. It is, I'd have to look up wiring diagrams. I would have to look up technical manuals and everything else. Plus, it's not a UK appliance. I would be pleased to help you, but please go to the website outside of the show. If you do have any problems, to help. And that's what I run the show for, is to help people. I don't necessarily, I'm 60 years of age. I do this because I like helping and I like this industry. This industry made me a lot of money over the years, and it's nice to give something back to it. So I hope that helps you, but I'm sorry I can't answer specific questions like this today. Next one, mate. Is Tom there yet?
Not yet, mate.
Burkay? Not yet. Okay. I'm just making sure I've sent him the link and everything. Yes, I have. So we'll see if we can get him in. Let me go back to the right page. Paul Hicks, good afternoon to you. I've got a 5-year guarantee with, yeah, excellent. I always am telling people now, do not accept 12-month guarantees. In Britain, the same appliance you'd buy in France, so you only get 12-month guarantee. In France, it is already legislation that you get a 2-year guarantee. But unless we start changing the way we shop and forcing manufacturers to go out and buy these Bosch heat pump tumble dryers, 5-year guarantee, I can promise you one of the manufacturers will turn around and start offering a 7-year guarantee. Use your money to change things. That's the only way we're going to force this industry to change. Next one, mate. Good afternoon to you, Tom. How is my favourite pub?
Hello, Paul. They're
We got a
asking
little
for you
bit of a
every
delay.
time I
How's
pop in
my
there.
favourite? My liver is saying thank you for letting me out.
But you will be back, I know.
Yeah, no, that's a definite. So how's things down in your neck of the woods?
Actually, very good, Paul, today. Yeah, the weather is good. A few calls done today, so can't ask for much more than that.
Okay. And what happened with the chest freezer after that we did in the video?
Paul, I won't go into it in detail, but I pulled the fast one. We got it done under warranty.
I'll say no more. I'll say no more. But
Perfect.
yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say any more with that whatsoever. But I'm glad you got the lady sorted, because I mean her 2 other freezers were, crikey Moses, 40, 50 years old, and they were still working.
Well, they were 25 or 30 minimum.
Yeah. Anyway, Tom, I just wanted to ask you a few questions, and that's why I dragged you in this afternoon. I know you're not familiar with technologies and microphones and all this, so I'm not going to burden you too much. What's your honest opinion? Now, you've had heat pump tumble dryers enforced on you in the Republic of Ireland now for about a year, isn't it?
Even less, Paul.
Right.
Would you believe I still have one in stock of the old? of the dryers with the element.
Right, a vented or condenser?
It's a condenser.
Right, okay. But when you're going out on the service calls now, are you starting to see this type of repair coming already with the heat pump tumble dryers?
Paul, I didn't have any service calls on the heat pumps because look at the most of them are brand new here in the west of Ireland in County Clare anyway.
Right.
Right, okay.
Mm.
But you personally have a heat pump tumble dryer, because when I actually first met you, you basically have had that heat pump tumble dryer because you got it as a graded appliance from one of your suppliers, and you've had it 10 years.
Yeah, I have that Siemens dryer about 10 years and it, touch wood, it never gave trouble.
But you do maintain it and clean the filters and everything from an engineer's point of view, and you stay on top of it. Because I know your wife is, I've got to be careful here, otherwise I'm going to get into trouble. Should we say she uses it a lot?
Quite a lot, Paul. Now, that dryer that I have, that Siemens, it has the self-cleaning condenser.
That's the one.
Right, yeah, that's the ones I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But how much would you say that machine would have cost at the time? New, perfect.
I think it would have been about €1,000.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a lot of energy you have to save when you consider that the vented dryer would only be about €220.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you haven't had really much real world experience working on these dryers yet. So I can't ask you some of the questions that I will be asked different engineers. Now, the next guy I'll be talking to after you is Barry. And Barry has, his company has 6 people on the road on a permanent basis, plus a couple in the workshop. And they have a guy just doing tumble dryers, heat pump tumble dryers on a daily basis, because all the engineers pick up the heat pump tumble dryers and take them back to the workshop, whatever the repair is, for servicing, which is, of course,
Okay.
more expense.
Sure.
Did you hear me on that? Yeah. Oh, you heard me. Okay. We got a bit of
I
a
did.
delay here.
I did, Paul. We have a little bit of a time lag.
Yeah, this is normal with the internet. You're Republic of Ireland, but we have get across the water and we're going via satellite anyway. So sometimes you will get time lags, Tom. So just
Okay,
last
Paul.
couple of questions. Last couple of questions for you, Tom, to keep it easy. What are your customers saying about these heat pump tumble dryers that they've got? Have you had many comments about them?
Well, Paul, the first thing is the price of it. It shocks them nearly to think that a year ago you could be buying a dryer for around maybe, depending on the make, maybe 350 up to €400. Now you're talking about €650 for the Bosch. They have the cheaper one for €600 retail.
That's a lot of money you have to save with energy to actually offset the additional cost. Are many people saying about how long these dryers take to dry compared to the old dryers?
Well, again now, Paul, you see, with these dryers, I wouldn't have a hell of a lot of them sold myself. And I know that, as said, one of the main dealers here in the county, who I'm in good friends with, he had a huge stock of the older style dryers, both vented and what do you call the condenser dryers, right? And he only ran out of stock there about maybe 2 months ago. So really, where I am situated here, these new dryers are new on the scene.
Right, okay. And we just had someone talking about people stockpiling vented and condenser dryers here in England.
Okay, okay, probably something similar now to what I'm just after mentioning, because I know
Yeah,
my man he could possibly have a couple of hundred in stock.
yeah, right,
Yeah, but
okay, well,
actually he was coming
that's
back
a
to
lot.
me.
And I expect he made a
He was coming
few
back to
quid
me to know,
more.
have I any left?
Right, okay. I expect he was making a very nice profit on the old stock.
Well, I'm sure he look at he wasn't. I'm sure he wasn't losing money. We'll put it that way.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, so everything's good with you. I really do appreciate the time that you've put in this afternoon for this, and I loved the time staying with you, mate. I've got all the manuals there. I've got a hot point twin tub behind me, which is going for reconditioning. I couldn't bring the washing machine over, so yeah, it was really. It was a good couple of weeks to spend, or a week to spend with you, and I wish I could have spent more time down that part of the world. It's amazing how Ireland changed so much when I came from south to north, in the Republic of Ireland. Everything's hustle and bustle up in Donegal, where down your neck of the woods, it was just, a lovely country life.
Sure, sure, yeah, yeah. I know. I heard you say that up where Barry is, that it's more city-like.
Oh, traffic jams, you name it. Even the roads deteriorate.
Well, now I wouldn't say that they're top end where I'm living either, but you seem to think they were quite okay.
You got to come to Britain sometime. It's my van is shaking to bits again now I'm back in Britain. The roads are very different.
Okay, another major service though.
No, not a major service, mate. Not a major one.
Not
Just
quite as big as Sahara.
you can tell the difference between the roads. Put it that way.
Fair enough. Now, Paul, if I'm going to Stafford to the bike show there in October, and my mate Ken there, he's after getting a new camper van. So if we have room for the 50, what's it? I said it's 58 Hoover twin tub.
Yeah,
We'll stick it in the back of the van, and you can meet.
That would be absolutely brilliant, Tom, and I'll enjoy restoring it, mate, because it should be in a museum. Tom has got a 1958, did you say?
I think
Hoover,
it's 50, it's
Hoover,
58, yeah.
yeah, and that's the Hoover twin tub where the control panel is on the front of the machine, not on the top, like everyone knows with the Hoover twin tubs. So it's a very, very different machine.
Indeed, that's the one, Paul. Yeah, with the controls out the front. Now I have the other one as well. I have the next, probably the one that came after it, with the controls up and top.
Right, we're losing you a little bit, Tom. So it's breaking up a bit with the internet, mate. So we'll leave you in peace. But really, I will look forward to getting that tumble dryer. Okay. Sorry, the twin tub.
The twin tub. Yeah.
I'll be in touch anyway, Paul. So
okay, you take care. Give my love to the wife and
yeah,
family,
look,
mate.
it's earmarked. Good man, Paul. We'll be in touch anyway. Cheers.
Okay, take care, Tom. Bye-bye. Okay, Burkeye, if you could bring some more questions up on the screen and see if we can get through some of these, because I can see a load piling up. Try to keep it related to heat pump dryers if we can. Today, we're not able to take questions on other machines. It's going to be a very long show, and we really want to focus on these heat pump tumble dryers. So can you bring up some questions? Lovely to speak to Tom. Great engineer. AEG lover. It's a shame they don't make these machines possible to regas. I had to replace. I had my LG replaced after 6 years due to the compressor, gas being low over 6 hours on and wouldn't dry. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we haven't even talked about, and this is something we really need to talk about while we're waiting for Barry. We've talked about the efficiency of the dryers. We've talked about the energy saving on the dryers. But when a dryer has to run twice the amount of time that a normal dryer would be running, and to put this in context for all of you, if a vented dryer would take 1 hour, 10 minutes to do a full load, a condenser tumble dryer may take 1 hour 20, 1 hour 30 maximum. And that was if the filters were reasonably kept clean and everything else. The equivalent heat pump tumble dryer can take 2 to 3 hours minimum to dry the clothing. Now, I've seen, what really gets me is I'm starting to see comments come up now that they're telling me, oh, my heat pump dryer dries in 30 minutes. And I know it's AI generated because it takes 15 minutes for a heat pump tumble dryer to get to the correct temperature to even operate. And some of these AI bots that crawl the internet and leave comments are basically phone farms. And I'm not pointing the finger, but shall we say, I think certain brands may be protecting themselves with things like that and that technology. It's in politics today. It's in all walks of life. AI is influencing people where it's false information. And this is something you need to be aware of. And, all these people you're going to talk to today, when it comes to the tumble dryers, don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to them. Go on to the feature length videos that I've done about this topic and have a look at other people's videos as well and read the comments. You'll spot the real comments. They're real people. They have history. They've uploaded videos to their YouTube channel. They've got social interaction going on their Facebook or Instagram pages. But you'll always spot the false ones because they have nothing on their account at all. And there are many. And one day I will prove it. I'm putting a few traps out there, shall we say, on a regular basis, trying to catch one of the manufacturers doing this, because they are protecting their brand by employing bots to leave false comments saying, oh, I've had a Bosch heat pump tumble dryer for 25 years. I've had an AEG tumble dryer. This has been working for 10 years. So many comments. I'm not saying they are genuine comments. I am saying that I am seeing comments come through on many videos which I know are incorrect. And people are not just going to write that. It's got to be some type of AI bot doing it. Anyway, we've got another question from AG. No, is that it's the same one? Can we go on the next one? What I was talking about there was the longevity on parts, by the way. When a heat pump tumble dryer is running twice as long, that means things like motor bearings, bearings on the drum, felts, belts are all going to wear quicker for the amount of laundry that you're doing, which means even more expense. Gilhayan, the whole of Europe is a 2-year guarantee. It's not a mistake. No, I know. I actually got thrown out of a French superstore. I was down near Toulouse and I was in I forget the company's name, but I went into a superstore equivalent to Curry's and I started filming. Now, I wasn't doing anything detrimental to the store or anything detrimental to the brands. What I was filming was the ID labels on all the machines, because in France, it's compulsory that they disclose how repairable machines are. They're giving it a scale of 1 to 10 on repairability. They're giving machines a scalability with regards how easy it is to work on, what technical information, energy certification, and everything else. Europe is so far ahead of the UK. And the new legislation that is coming in, last month it came in, which is basically forcing manufacturers to start producing parts at reasonable prices. But yet, rip off Britain gets us every time. I mean, we are so far behind, it's incredible. So yes, thanks for adding that additional bit of information. Next one, Burkeye. John Lennon, do apologize for my pronunciation. For heat pump dryers, most of the time they won't regas. No, they won't regas them at all, mate. Most of them now, and to be honest, most engineers will turn down the job. They won't even look at it. The actual evaporator, condenser, and the compressor is all surrounded by plastic. And if you've got to go heating up pipes to 600 degrees to melt silver solder or do anything like that, you're going to, you've got a high chance of a fire. So, and you must remember, in Britain, we have a certificate nearly for everything, including wiping our posteriors nowadays. We seem to be governed by so many rules. And for engineers like, you've got to have certificates to work on gas. You've got to have certificates to work on refrigeration units. You've got to have pack testing electrical certificates, for doing pack testing. There is so much cost to not only being an engineer in legislation, but it's all the tools you need to do the job.
That's right.
I mean, put a benchmark. You're only a small individual, and you're a one-man band, basically.
And I've built my tools.
And you've built your tools. What would you say? What is the value of your tools that you run on a day-to-day basis now? I bet you it's near 5,000.
Boy,
what's in the back of your van?
Probably is up to that. So I've got 2 meters. I've got my mega. I've got my multimeter. I've got a pat tester. I've got the socket tester as well. And that's aside from my drills and
of course these meters. I mean, with regards to your pack tester, that's got to be calibrated each year.
Yes.
So you've got cost of all these things on top, and people aren't even looking at this. So thanks very much, John, for sending that in. Some of the manufacturers now are only supplying the units complete. So if a evaporator, condenser comes with the compressor, all the pipe work is then actually being dropped in. But no, they're only doing this under warranty. No one is going to go to the expense of having that done.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say to you. That's what they will do. Even the manufacturer themselves won't come out and repair it.
Manufacturers are just telling the service engineer, write it off, we'll send them a new one out.
That's right. That's right.
And this is the throwaway culture that we're starting to move into, and it's ludicrous.
Yeah, with some of them, what they'll do is they'll replace the base unit. And some of them, I believe, they're set up in such a way that the cabinet is removable, that you can remove the top off of it and just put that top along with all the wires that go along with it, the door catch and everything else, just transfer it over onto the new base, because it's ridiculous. Nobody is going to go ahead and replace that evaporator or that or regas that compressor. So
no, I agree with you completely. I'm sorry the camera went off you then, because this is an AI driven camera.
Okay.
And when you were flinging your hands around, it triggered it triggered auto tracking mode, and that's why it went on you. I mean, cameras, for example, are brilliant. That's an AI camera, and that can actually follow you around the room. So I don't need to, it saves me when I'm doing a repair, and I use this type of camera. This is a Osmo Pocket 3. And it's great because I can set it on tracking and it'll follow me. And that means I don't always have to have someone with me when doing a repair video, which, those are beneficial things about technology. But do we need AI in a washing machine? Do we need auto dosing
Do we
in a
need-
washing
I'm
machine?
sorry. Do we really need the internet? In
Yeah,
the
well, I
washing
mean,
machine?
what is the
I'm
internet?
not-
Yeah, but
I'm not getting it.
the internet, in my opinion, the internet, in my opinion, being put onto the machine gives manufacturers the capability,
To
if they
monitor.
wanted to,
Yeah,
to turn the thing off.
yeah.
Yeah. You only have to watch the light bulb.
We're going somewhere else now.
Yeah, I know, but
Oh,
I'm
we're going
sorry. I'm
somewhere-
passionate. I am passionate about this.
Yeah.
But if
Yep.
we look, in the 1900s,
Yep.
the light bulb conspiracy theory
Yep.
was there, and manufacturers grouped together to make sure light bulbs didn't last more than 2,000 hours. This same stuff that was banned has now come back into play, because all the manufacturers, when it comes to the Northern Europe, started to produce washing machine sealed drums at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is why, I have said so many bad things about manufacturers, but not one of them come up to my door with a solicitor and threaten me, because they know
what you're
I
saying
can
is truth.
prove
It's
what
truth.
I've said is true. They're just staying quiet because it's more economic for them to stay quiet and say nothing than try to drag me into court over anything. And, we have an audience now which are really behind the whole site. I mean, they realize general public is not stupid anymore. General public realizes that they're being brainwashed with all these gimmicks, and they're really getting disgusted by how long appliances last today. I mean, your mother, my mother, a washing machine to them lasted 20 to 25 years. Your daughter is brought up in an era where she thinks a washing machine should only last 5 years. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Sean, good afternoon. I expect the vented and condenser dryers are going to be hotcakes now. Hotcakes, and a few businesses are going to make a lot of money out of them. And also the manufacturers are going to make a lot more money if this legislation gets put in place. Now, I've seen you on many a show, and the link is in the chat. Please make sure that you go and not only fill in the petition, but talk to some friends and get them to do it, because it's the only way we're going to change things. We have to use our money today to change things, and we also have to use our support as community groups to get legislation changed. It's very important. Basically, they want us to use a washing line, which is impossible, especially, well, look, in Wales, 300 days a year, it's raining. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, you can use a washing line, but you're going to do a video about that soon.
Yeah. Well, that's
Stay
to do,
tuned to how to repair.
That's to do with dehumidifiers being used in correct environments, and I'll be doing a video on that. But you're disclosing secrets there. AEG lover. Also, Paul, what do you think of hot points designed for outbuildings and sheds? Had a Pacific Cycle called Cold Guard design for the look, most of washing machines have been in sheds for 50 to 60 years. People didn't have kitchens where you could slide them into the under the worktop. When you bought, my mother's washing machine was a twin tub, and that's where I learnt to repair appliances. We had that washing machine in an outhouse, and that's the way people lived back in the 60s and 70s. It is only now with modern houses and modern conveniences that we are putting machines into our kitchens today. But in the UK, our kitchens are so small, it is very hard for us to fit separate units like washers and dryers. I mean, chest freezers, which is what I was talking with Tom just now, with modern induction circuit boards on induction motors, are getting a manufacturer who designs the machine comes from some warm country, and they have no comprehension how we live. So you shouldn't be buying appliances which aren't suited for the climate that we live in. Next one, mate, because I can see there's loads coming in.
Well, actually, we have the bearer right now. If you want, I can connect him.
Oh yeah, Chuck Barry on. Let's have a laugh.
Psychic powers.
I can have a drink of coffee. How are you doing, Bat?
1, 2. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you, but there's a bit of latency, but that's because you're in the Republic of Ireland.
Correct. I went to the best coverage spot I could find here, and hopefully it pays off.
No, it sounds okay. It's a little bit less latency than Tom. Tom had a bit of latency, but Tom's not up to date with all the technologies and everything, and nor should he be at 76. He should be sat on the beach somewhere enjoying a margarita and not working his guts out at 76 years old.
Yeah, true, but we'll just keep on the right side of him for now. Anyway, maybe it might be generous to us, How you guys doing?
Barry, this is Quabs, by the way.
Wow.
He's basically a one-man band over this neck of the woods in Cumbria, and he also is starting something up in Scotland as well. Now, can you explain to everyone? I have sent you questions in advance, so we don't need to make this a 5-hour stream or 6-hour stream. Firstly, explain a bit about your company, where you operate, and tell us how you deal with heat pump dryers repairs now, please.
Some of the VO, we're domestic appliances services, and we operate up here in the north of Ireland, still in the Republic, obviously, but up in County Donegal. We cover the whole county we have 7 engineers on the road all the time, and we basically heat pump dryers. Yeah, most of the time, as you've seen yourself falling out in the road with me, heat pump dryers do mostly require to come into the workshop. Basically because customers aren't really very religious in keeping the filters clean on them, mostly because they weren't explained the product that they're being sold at the start when they bought it, so they're unaware of the filters and stuff down the bottom. So we find a lot of fluff and grass in the heat exchanger at the bottom, obviously, which does require a split down, and our nifty little power hose at the workshop cleans them out from top to bottom to keep them efficient.
Okay,
So
and
that's
also,
basically
yeah, some of the information about the company stumbled a bit, I think, because of your reception. So I'm just so everyone can hear. DAS is basically a company that operates in pretty much the whole of the Donegal area.
correct. We cover the whole county and small bits of Northern Ireland as well too, when needed.
Right.
So it's a big. Donegal's a big county, like, so as you've seen yourself, there's a serious amount of driving on a daily basis to get to customers,
Yeah.
up to 150 to 200 miles of driving. So,
But even
it's quite
when
fun.
you go out to a job with heat pump dryers, let's say it's 60, 70 miles away, and you go out there and you
Hey,
know
how
there's
you
a
doing,
noise
Brian?
coming from a bearing or something else.
Okay.
That
You
still
called
comes
earlier,
into the
but I
workshop
couldn't answer the
today
phone 'cause we're
because
live on
you
the
know
air.
that you've got to deal with the
Yeah.
condenser and evaporator if it's not drying efficiently.
Correct. So
So
we
you
will
want
obviously
for anything
get
like
from
that
the customer.
needed or anything?
We'll basically gather information from the customer. So when I arrive in the house, I will get the feel
I
for.
don't think you left your voice note still, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So where you guys?
Either on site, if
You're out and about.
or
Are you out and about? Oh, you're home. Okay.
Yeah, we're having a bit of drop in
Well,
latency,
yeah,
I think.
'Cause
I'm just going to
sent you a
check with
message saying
Burkeye.
message me.
Burkeye, is that coming out okay on your end, or is it my end?
Occasionally I have problems, but right now I think there's Quab's talking to someone, I guess.
Oh yeah. I saw after you said we'll
Right,
watch
okay,
later. I
no
see.
no
You said-
worries.
no,
Well,
before
apologise
you
to
said
anyone
we'll watch
that
later, you sent me
is getting a bad
voice note.
reception on
Alright,
this. You
I'll
must
listen to
remember
it. Is it
we're
about the food?
working all from Barry's in his van parked up in Donegal somewhere. I'm actually in a campsite near Penrith. and I'm running on satellite. He's running on mobile technology. So sometimes it will drop out and everything. But my next question for you is, tell me about how, you know, you're very different to Tom down in County Clare, where the dryers are not so popular because it's a much rural community. I went out with you and we went out to quite a few heat pumped dryers. What are you seeing in lifespans on the lower end price bracket machines compared to the higher end price bracket machines? And also, how are you seeing the lifespan of these machines?
To be honest now, I think the retailers up here in Donegal are very clever and they're very switched on when it comes to introducing customers into heat pump dryers. So they seem to be able to get the customer pushed into the higher end brands such as the Bosch, the AEG, or the higher end hot points.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that sounds
goes
fine.
the lower price.
Yeah.
So to be fair, the higher end Bosch is a great heat pump dryer. I don't see them too often until they're maybe 7 to 8
Okay.
years old, and that would have been the first generation of Bosch heat pump.
What did
Now,
you?
they haven't.
What did you get the parsley that we used it for the carrot thing? Is it
Oh,
finished?
sorry to interfering, but I guess Quab's left microphone on.
Is all of
Oh,
it?
right, okay, no problem.
Alright, okay.
Let me go and deal with that. Barry, also just explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm getting people ring me as well. Just bear with Barry. Just explain to them about the Bosch a bit more on the accessibility.
Did you do it or no?
Quabs.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll just wait for Quab's here to get off the phone.
Sorry, he had his microphone on and he was taking a telephone call and he didn't realise that his whole conversation was going out on national blooming YouTube. So yeah, of course I couldn't hear it because I'm only here. Yeah, well, we need as you said in the video, your first video, we need another Trevor McDonald. Hey, look, mistakes are going to happen. He just took his telephone and didn't realise that when he walked out the van, that his whole conversation was going to be heard all over the internet. I'll be looking forward to the replay to find out what he was talking about.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Right, getting back to the Bosch heat pump dryer. So now, Bosch had a first generation of heat pump dryer, which was actually really good. And
now,
most
Barry,
of them
can
came
I just
with
hold
the self-cleaning
Barry, okay, Barry, I just want to hold you a second to tell Burkeye. Burkeye, can you bring up that article on the Bosch one from Australia? Because it was a very good article that someone had wrote with some very good pictures. And it was explaining how well Bosch has done now with the access panels. So Quabs has just come back. I hope that wasn't a personal conversation because you were going out all over the internet.
It was all about what we were going to have for dinner.
Oh, right. Okay. So the world knows what he's going to have for dinner. Okay. You've lost Barry there. So just bring the pictures up. This is from a website called John Crawford down in Australia. And he put a very nice article together. And look at the accessibility on this dryer. Is it the same as you're working on now? So we got the compressor there, everything is normal. But when we go down on the pictures now, Burkeye, you've got the drum out of the machine, but have a look at these two access panels that are coming up next. Now, this is what I was talking about 5-6 years ago. The whole base of the machine drops off so that the condenser and the evaporator can be flushed through. Yeah. And the problem with this machine was the fine gauze filter in the actual door had basically waxed up, so the airflow wasn't going through the machine. But after a good soak in some heavy detergent, they cleaned the filter out and got the machine fully working again.
No, as you can see with that model as well, I believe, which they done a real handy thing as well, was they changed the pump from inside of the first generation Bosch heat pump used to have the pump down inside below the drum, which was a real headache to try and get access to. So thankfully they have moved that to the rear of the machine there now. I think you can see on the photos, which is the latest generation, which makes life a lot easier for accessing the pump as well to clean that out.
Yeah. Now, when companies start to produce machines of this quality at an affordable price, I can see the benefits in heat pump technology. But one of the reasons I really do not want this being forced upon everybody, because people who live in the country and have machines in outbuildings and everything else also have the capability to put solar on the property. And therefore, we can actually offset the energy with solar. Instead of having to buy a heat pump tumble dryer, you could buy a normal vented or condenser tumble dryer. But having it forced upon us seems ludicrous. What's your opinion on that?
It is. I can see where they're coming from, and it's a bit of a catch-22, like they did with the vacuum cleaners as well, and bringing the power right down in the motors. Like, and my theory always was, isn't that going to cause people to vacuum more? Because you know, the vacuum will be at the strength the old one was, and people will be using it more. And the same with the dryer. Like, I know up here in Donegal, everyone's a wee bit like my mum. They like airing out the clothes on the line, and they like finishing them off in the dryer for 10 or 15 minutes. The fluff towels and stuff, that seems to be the way up here. And a heat pump here doesn't exactly allow that now. Which, you know, I would say, well, if majority of people is only throwing their clothes in for 10 or 15 minutes to just take the dampness off them and air them out, which the old vent of the condenser dryer has done, they were using very little energy anyway. People are starting to do the same with the heat pump dryer.
It won't work.
I think we've lost Barry for a second.
He was making a really good point there, though.
I think it goes because of the Zoom. We only have 40 minutes.
Okay, I'll tell him to jump back in. Sorry, I didn't realise that. I'll just send him a message.
I can send a message to him if you want.
Okay, yeah, you send him a message then. But no, what he's explaining there is a very good point. You explain it from your side.
Yeah, so a lot of people up here, when he was saying that about Donegal, a lot of people up here do a similar thing where they don't dry their clothes in the dryer for the whole time. So they'll hang them up on the line, and then especially towels and stuff like that, they'll put them in the dryer just for a little bit to fluff them up. With a heat pump dryer, as you were saying earlier,
you
15 minutes to actually
just get to temperature. So once you
open that door, you're starting it all over again. That process, and that's a similar thing that happened today when I went out to that job I was telling you about at the cleaning company. They had the dryer on when I came in, but he said all over again.
Sorry about that, Barry. We've got a Zoom problem where we get kicked out after 40 minutes. And I actually cancelled the account the other day to re-establish the account, but it's still causing us problems. It's a glitch on the system, and I'm having my problem being is I can never get through to customer services anymore.
It's all on you.
Well, no, sorry. I see what you mean. Let me go back on me so you can see me. Has that changed?
The camera loves me, baby.
As I was saying, the lost track now. You throw me off. What was I saying?
So you
were talking about Zoom and the customer service.
Oh yeah. So customer service is yet again all I'm ever getting through to is a robot. I'm not actually getting through to someone to explain the problem. And you type it up and the robot answers you and doesn't quite understand what your problem is. You're getting a lot of AI stuff now with calls with customers. You were talking the other day, Barry, about Samsung and how good their system was.
Yeah, actually, I'm starting to see that filter through now, especially on higher wash machines and Samsung and LG. Now they seem to have an AI system for booking on calls and AI wash profiles on the wash machine as well. So they seem to be forcing this quite heavily now, coming along, and it is interesting because it's removing such of the standard programs that the customers just really letting the machine decide itself on what to do with temperature and textiles and stuff. So it's simplified the process in both performance and aftercare when you need to book an engineer. Um, so it's whether it'll be good in the future. I haven't seen any mistakes, but I was playing about with it myself on Samsung's website and their app on the phone. I found it quite quick and quite good. So it's interesting to see how that'll progress. I assume it'll only get better. So it'll really be handy for a customer, especially if we've sold them a machine where they want to book on a service call. It'll really take a lot of paperwork off us and phone calls and stuff and ringing call centers and things like that. So it's
Yeah,
proven to be good at the minute.
yeah, there is benefits to AI when it comes to some of the getting rid of the run-of-the-mill stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not that good at really solving the complex problems that you have. Do you have a lot of calls coming in with regards service work? You mainly get your work off a couple of shops and also
Yeah, word of mouth.
word of mouth.
For the most part for me. The signage on my van and what have you, that gets out for me. I do have a couple of companies
Estate
that I
agents and
do
stuff.
that I do holiday let stuff. I do for rentals, and I also do a little bit of warranty stuff. I do for some people and insurance jobs as well. Yeah.
And predominantly, Barry, most of your company work, I would say, from spending a week with you, I would say at least 50, 60% of your work comes in from service force work type.
Correct. Yeah, we would do a serious amount of warranty work. So we would, we have our bases of legacy customers as well. Obviously, they'll ring us outside a guarantee, but for the moment, we're really getting a lot of service work for warranty. Um, a lot of stuff coming in as well too. Just basically customer. You can really diagnose it over the phone as well. From misuse and not understanding what they have and things like that. But we see everything. We've seen everything. So it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, when I was with you, it really, I think I was very proud to see a company that actually has it funneled correctly. In other
Yeah.
words, we did a cooker where a glass was broken because of a
Yeah.
carrying mount system, which meant you would
Yeah.
have to go back out to the property. You may not
Yeah.
even get it right when you went back out to the company because maybe another
Correct.
component wasn't lining up. Heat pump
Yeah.
tumble dryers, if they looked like they needed maintenance, they're coming into the workshops, not even bothering to fix them on site. Bring them into the workshop because you can do the job thoroughly and do it properly.
Yeah.
But this is very hard
Exactly.
for small service, for small service engineers, one-man businesses and everything like Quabs. You know how bad I am at names, Barry. How long does it take me to get? I've forgotten it now.
Yeah, Maliki.
Maliki. Gee, I've had Quabs this week, and that's another name I've had a problem with.
One syllable. It's
One
one syllable.
Overthinking it too much. Just
Yeah,
don't call
very
me
much
Shirley.
so. So Barry, look, I'm going to be on for quite a while today, so I'm just I've sent a message to Donald in Northern Ireland because I'm working away round the country at the moment, sort of following my footsteps, and now we'll be speaking to Stark's Electrical and some other places in a minute, and Malcolm down in Birmingham. and Grant down
Perfect.
in Colchester, and also
Yeah.
Andrew in Swansea. And I'm going to be asking the same type of questions to all these, because some of these I haven't visited yet. And
Yeah.
I know that Malcolm doesn't have he's got a workshop where he repairs the machines and everything else, but he doesn't have a 5,000 square foot unit like yourself. But Andrew
Yeah.
in Swansea, he's very similar to yourself.
Yeah.
Colchester, which is Grant, he's very similar to yourself. And he has a cooker cleaning business attached to the appliance business. And it's nice to
Yeah.
get an interesting conversation on all the different walks of life that you engineers are having to deal with this new technology. And it's not just heat pump tumble dryers. You know, we've now got the introduction of inverter boards into washing machines, which are failing
Yeah.
more often. We've got all sorts of new technology. Some are beneficial and some are not. Yeah. And this is trying to get an understanding of where this industry is going is a good way of explaining it to the general public, I think.
Oh, correct, Paul. It's like everything. I love studying technology even before it comes out. Like, so with most of the companies there, I would have great access, to seeing what's coming ahead, and we get to liaise with them to see how it's going to work in the future. I remember when my dad started out with Hotpoint back in the early days. And it's so changed now. If they had a prototype machine that was due to hit the market in a year's time, the engineers with Hotpoint and stuff would have been given that machine in their own homes to test and iron out any creases that would arise before it hit the market. But everything's coming so quickly now. Every 6 months there, especially with Korean companies and stuff, there's an update or a new model, and the speed that they're rushing out this new technology. And to be fair, there's very little failure rate with it now, compared to maybe mid 2007 to 2011, where the electronic, really started to take off even in the lower end machines. Um, but it is interesting to see where it's going to go, and it's just the
Yeah, I
speed that
mean,
it's evolving.
I've known you a few years now, and you're sort of the ambassador to the business, because what a lot of people might not know about your company is your new company is two companies amalgamated into one to become more
Correct.
efficient to the community in your area. But you also,
Correct.
I mean, you've got friends in Hotpoint in I won't say high places, but you know some of the top people in Hotpoint. You know some of the top people in a company in the UK. You know there are many different areas that you're aware of the technology as it's being rolled out. Yeah, and this is
Yeah.
important for but not all people are able to go to trade shows like myself in Berlin. Yeah, not all people are able to go to Vegas to the World Trade Show or the Chinese trade show. It's just too
No.
much expense and it's too much out of the time. And they only sell what their suppliers supply to them. Yeah. So they're
Correct.
not aware of if there are benefits or pitfalls on these machines.
No, but what I am realizing now, like the automotive industry, a lot of these companies now have started to create like a skunk works program within the corporation. So they will grab people from all aspects of the company, engineers, designers, and testers and everything, Paul, and they will combine them into the one open space room. And it's quite beautiful to see now, and it always should have been done that way, where they all can sit with no walls in a lovely open, well lit space, and they can exchange ideas round the table, rather than a file getting passed from one level down to the other. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're all starting to do that now, and I think that's very promising, because everyone can have a voice then in the next generation of appliances that's coming along. So that in itself will definitely help, I'm sure, in one way or another, get everything down to a fine art, so
Yeah.
everyone's
Well,
well
look,
aware of what to do.
you know how harshly I speak about a lot of things in this industry, and I don't
Correct.
mince my words.
You do
Um,
not.
but all I'm trying to achieve in this industry is longevity. That is the
Correct.
word that really needs to come out today, because all this manufacturing that comes out with new technologies, we all replace our telephones every few years because they become obsolete. But the washing machine and the dishwasher and the tumble dryer really has not changed in 45 years. But yet
No.
technology's being thrown in and the benefits are not really complementing the longevity of the machine. We are going backwards on longevity with technology.
Correct. You know, if it could come to a modular design stage where, you know, as you said, they can keep the price of the spare parts down low against the price of the wash machine when it was new, and make components interchangeable. So if the customer wants in 5 years, "Oh, I want to update the panel on that wash machine, or you know, make it so it'll look like the fresh model," they're able to do that. That would be a lovely thing to do. Now, probably in an ideal world, that doesn't suit everybody that needs to make a buck, but going forward for the environment, I think it's the only way sustainably. So you'll have your choice of customers that want to throw out that appliance and get a new one, or your choice of customers, I have access to a component for relatively cheap money, and I can add it to my existing frame on my washing machine that I have and bring it up to modern standard, like, you know, as technology
Yeah.
progresses. But it's
I
just
mean,
getting that fine balance.
one of the things I would say is too many manufacturers are bringing out too many models, making this industry far too complicated when it comes to parts, when it comes to being able to repair it. We really need one manufacturer to produce 3 machines for the whole marketplace.
Yeah,
An 8 kilo, a 7 kilo, an 8, 9 kilo, or a 10 kilo. And it doesn't need half of these gizmos like auto dosing, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. I mean, they are just non-beneficial. It's over complicating the machine. And of course, you've
yeah.
got the R&D, research and development on all these boards and everything else. Why not use the money to focus on something to make it last longer? But of course, then it's not beneficial to the accountants' wallets.
No, you see, that's the thing. But watching the market trends at the minute, it's going to come down to a handful of players, which it already is on the global
Yeah,
stage. And you know, the focus is going to have to turn then, rather than, you know, how many can we put out and how can we make it better so people will stay with us longer, is going to have to be
yeah,
the focus here. Because, you know, you can only pump out so many wash machines at a given rate in the world, or appliances, you know, before something has to change. And you know, with the price of materials and stuff now, and the current world, you know, it's going to, there's a lot of changes happening, and it's interesting to see where it's going to end up going forward. There's a lot of, most if not all big names now are under, you know, 4 name umbrellas in the world, like, you know. And then you have the Asian markets then aggressively pushing in this side of Europe, which I see as well. So you will have a, you know, a sub €300 machine, 399, with a 5 year parts and labor warranty on it from some of the Asian manufacturers. Like, and that's, you know, that's wow stuff, because
yeah,
you'll have higher end European made machines in only with the 1 year warranty, like, you know. So that has to be put straight on European built machines to compete in this market. It has to, you know,
yeah.
when they're able to give a 5 year parts and labor on that machine around 300 to €399 retail, like, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I want to see in legislation change is that when you walk into Curry's or one of the superstores, you know it's manufactured by the Electrolux group. You know it's manufactured by the Bosch group, not to hide behind all these multiple brands tricking the general public, because this is a big problem. A lady or gentleman may go into Curry's and say, "I'm not buying this make again," and walks out the shop with a totally different make, not knowing that every component in that machine is the same component as what they had. And that's
Yeah,
tricking the general public. Okay,
it's
let me just ask first. Let me just ask Burkeye quickly. Is Donald about?
No, mate, not yet because of the Zoom. We don't have any Zoom right now. You need to Send it. You
Oh,
can.
right. I need to kick. You mean I need to kick Barry out and bring the next one in?
Yeah, and before Barry out, I have a question for you guys. Can I ask it?
Okay. Yeah, certainly.
All right. If you had the energy secretary or any other parliament member in front of you right now, what is the one component from a heat pump dryer you would drop on the desk to prove this ban is a mistake?
The evaporator and condenser from me.
Just repeat the question, okay? Just broke up at the end there.
Do you want
Your
me
microphone's playing up a bit,
yeah.
Barry.
Yeah, that should be better as a Jack. Go ahead.
Well, no, I
Maybe the
think we got
battery
some
is
electrical interference, like messages or something.
Yeah, it's a buzzing sound I can hear.
Yeah. Did you catch the question, Barry?
I might just plug this out here, guys, just to see if it makes it any better.
Okay, I'll ask the same question to Quabs a second. Let me just flick on to Quabs so you get his response. Okay, what's the one thing, if you had a politician or parliament in front of you now, what's the one thing to prove that heat pump tumble dryers are not as reliable now as the old vented or condenser dryers?
I believe that he asked which component
Which
we would put
yeah,
on the table. So you mentioned the evaporator
yeah.
and condenser. I would say the evaporator, but I would probably also say the compressor, to be honest, because I don't think that a fridge is ever going to do the job of a dryer as efficiently as it needs to.
Well, I mean, we all have different opinions on this. I actually think heat pump technology in the right environment is very good. But the problem being is when you're trying to get all this technology and ram it into one 600 box, I think this is the problem. Now, Barry, we still got a bit of buzz, but what's your opinion on this? Did you catch the question?
I was going to say the clean filter sticker there because no one ever reads it.
Oh,
Yeah.
this clean filter sticker.
Yeah. No, okay. You've got a very, very good point there. Yeah, this, I think half the faults with appliances are people not treating them as a mechanical item. They will check their tire pressures, they will check the oil on the car, but yet they won't service a tumble dryer or clean a washing machine out in the filter every week. Yeah. And I think, I think the manuals sometimes don't help either. I mean, when you consider we've been producing cookers now for the last 70 years, and nowhere in any manufacturer's manual does it say, do not turn the thermostat on until you turn the selector switch to the correct thing. Because the selector switch is designed to actually select the program. The points in the thermostat are designed to be able to cycle. And, I think sometimes manuals are written in a way that general public doesn't understand.
That's correct, but you can put it on as fine a print as you want, but whether people will read it and study it and the way they should, I mean, the first thing when I get an appliance, I'm opening that book and I need to know every point that is in there in the manual to get the very best out of it. Like, but I know I do. It's lying up above the press, gathering dust on the sealed bag. But I see the new appliances have a lot of QR codes in the front of them, which is interesting. People starting to scan those now, so it's bringing you on to, like yourself there, how-to videos from the manufacturer on what to do before the appliance fires up.
That's beneficial. That's beneficial for our age group, but we're not thinking about I say our age group because I'm about to mention the other age group, which I'm actually in. But for people over 60, it's not that beneficial. Yeah.
Until you tell them you need to do it to know what your neighbours are at. Then that'll get you guys going.
Yeah. Okay. I'm up with technology, but I know a lot of people who are my age and over suffer greatly with technology. Anyway, what we're going to do, Barry, is let you go for the moment. And we're going to bring in Donald, and we'll have a chat with him. He's in Northern Ireland. And while that's happening, while we're waiting for the new connection, I'll deal with some questions on the screen here.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. Once again, a pleasure as always.
I might be calling you later. It all depends on how many fall over, because it looks like we're going to be running late already. Okay?
Well, as I always said, call the hotline, baby. Call the hotline. We're always here to answer.
Cheers, Barry.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot for your time, mate.
All the best.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Now, if you need to go home at all, by the way, because I know you have a wife and child.
I'm gonna be heading home. I was just gonna say, but also just want to say thank you to those those 6 people that have signed the petition since we've been on.
Well, if we stay on another 1,000 hours, we might get enough to actually get some change made. Yeah. But you know, you've got to remember this type of thing is going to be rewatched and everything else. And maybe those 6 people will talk to 60 people that they know, and maybe those 60 people talk. So we can only do what we try.
That wasn't a knock. That was actually genuine thanks to those people who have done that as well. Thank you to you for what you've been doing.
No, it was a pleasure having you. It was a pleasure being up here for a few days.
We're gonna still remain in touch.
Yes, because you're possibly be in Scotland, and I haven't done
I will be there.
I haven't done the 5. I think it's the 500 route, which is the northern route round Scotland. It's another great travel trip that I'd like to do, to have a look, especially at the Scottish appliance industry. So thanks very much indeed for your time.
No worries at all.
Microphone before we listen to you all the way home.
Eating the dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe he can give us a recipe for a meal.
All right, Berkay. Yes, take care. I'll be in Turkey soon for the Durham.
Just call me, mate.
All right then, bud. Take care.
Okay, so let me deal with some of these questions, and you let us know, Berkay, when Donald's here. Okay?
Okay, mate.
Right, Tom again. Hello, Tom. Paul, you just heard you saying dishwashers haven't changed much in 40 years. When I was a young engineer working on Indeset in Ireland, they had a top-loading domestic. Yeah, well, I'm not talking about the way that they're loaded. There are many different ways that they're loaded, and also there are the basic wash action of a dishwasher. And a lady actually read a book and talked about a lady that invented the dishwasher, and that's a collaboration video that's in our channel. And it was quite surprising to find out that it was a lady that actually really was accounted for designing the dishwasher in the first place. And I forget when it was, but it was the turn of the century sort of time. And she couldn't actually sell it to the general public. It had to be sold to hotels. So that was a very interesting listen when she shared that with us. Also, Tom was sterilizing during the wash, very popular with the Jewish community. Yeah, well, you know, you've got to remember, if there's multi people in the households, maybe I don't know the wording for this, but you know, Muslims are not allowed to eat pork. I think some Indian are not allowed to eat beef and so on. So yeah, there's many. You would have to be careful on how you wash stuff in certain communities. AG lover, good afternoon to you. Also, Paul, what do you think of the hot points design for out? Well, we've had that one. Can you bring up another? Johnny, good afternoon to you. Our air dryer has lasted 42 years. After that, we've had 2 condenser dryers in 10 years. Now we had to buy a heat pump dryer due to the EU regulations. Hope you can prevent this in the UK. Well, look, we're doing our best. That's all I can say. It is down to the general public. I've had most probably between 2,000 and 4,000 people already agree on one video that they think heat pump tumble dryers are eitherwise taking too long to dry, too expensive, unbeneficial, but only 800-900 people have bothered to get off their butts and do something about it by signing the petition. And, you know, this show today I have dedicated to the heat pump tumble dryer, and it's going to be 3-4 hours of Burkeye's time and my time that we put into this effort. We don't get anything from it. We're just trying to make your lives better in 4 or 5 years' time, because in 4 or 5 years' time, you are going to be picking up the phone saying, oh, my dryer's not working. And engineers like Quabs and other engineers that are one-man bands that don't have all the certification to work on the gas units and stuff like that are going to be putting their hands up and saying, sorry, not interested in the work. And, you know, then you are forced to buy a new appliance, which means the manufacturers yet again win. Okay, next one. Did you hear me, Burkeye?
Yeah, I hear you, mate.
Or did you run to the loo?
Nope. Did you answer that one?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. That was the lasted 42 years one. Andrew, good afternoon. Put yourself in the position of a disabled person. I set my washer dryer via an app. Once my carers have loaded, I haven't actually thought about that one, and I'm not, you know, braille on a washing machine I think would be beneficial, with regards a blind person being able to know what they're touching and everything else. You know, technology, when it comes to applications like apps and stuff like that, I am totally dyslexic. Up until a year ago, if you'd read the articles that I had written, you would have had struggled to read it because of my spelling mistakes, my grammar, and everything else. Even though I had a private school education, I was not even known to be dyslexic until I was about 40 years of age. And now technology has improved my life no end. I basically don't even use the keyboard on my computer. So there are benefits. Don't get me wrong. I think heat pump technology is brilliant. But when you're ramming it into a tumble dryer that has fluff, and fluff is causing 90%, or not 90, but 70% of the problems, and all the modern apps and, you know, sensors and everything else. An old dryer, vented or condenser, if well maintained, would last 15 to 20 years. These modern heat pumps today, at the moment, on the lower end price bracket, are not even lasting 5 years. That is fact. So there are benefits to technology, but there are also companies using it to build obsolescence into the machines, I'm sorry to say. And we need to find a balance. So that's as best as I can answer that one. Andrew, rate 9 kilo washer dryer. Rate 9 kilo. I can't rate an individual make because if I haven't worked on it. And secondly, Candy produce most probably 300-400 9 kilo machines across Europe, which may all be slightly different. I would say Candy is at the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to repairability, serviceability, and everything else. I have seen lots of problems with those machines over the past 5-6 years, and many other engineers would have that problem. Okay, I'm just trying. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm trying to make sure. He said he's getting an invalid meeting. Can you pass me a fresh link, please, on WhatsApp, Burkeye? Because we can't get our next guest in.
Just a second.
Yeah, thank you. Let me answer this one from Sean. Sean, this is why I don't like tumble dryers. Well, to be honest, Sean, I'm going to be doing some videos shortly showing the efficiency of dehumidifiers if set up correctly in a room. and that is going to be very beneficial to everyone, because we predominantly have very small bathrooms in the UK, and running dehumidifying systems actually is very advantageous because of the amount of washing that you can actually do. That was an eCam link you sent me, by the way, Burke. I've sent him the eCam link, so I'll send him the eCam and the Zoom link. If you could send me a Zoom.
We can't use a Zoom right now, mate.
Oh, right. Okay. And that's because we've exceeded the 40 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, time limit.
But it won't let you start a new conversation. It should let you start a new conversation with a new person.
Let me try it again.
This is the problem with technology. Of course, some people will be able to use eCam, some people will be able to use Zoom, but these manufacturers restrict things. Bring another question up so I can just answer that while we're dealing with that. Donald, how are you, sir?
Hi, Paul. How's
Can
it
you hear
going? Do you
me?
hear me?
Yeah, very well. I do apologize about all the links and everything else. It's a nightmare doing something like this because we're not computer whiz kids. We're only appliance whiz kids, and technology we're having to use. So introduce yourself. Tell us about the area that you cover. I'll let you do it firsthand, and we'll put some links for all of these people, by the way, in the replay video at the end. Okay?
Yeah, so my name's Donald Keeley, and I run a company called Secure Tech, which is based in Coleraine area, and we cover the Portrush, Portstewart, Derry, London Derry, whatever you want to call it, area. Basically, that's where we cover, you know.
You'll notice I never said the word Londonderry because I'm being very politically correct when I travelled through Ireland, not to upset anyone. So
Yes, you have to be very careful.
yeah, I there are certain things. When I was saying Southern Ireland, people frowned at me. Of course, I've got to say the Republic of Ireland, and I was told to say Derry and Derry and Derry only. So yeah, I try to stay on the straight and narrow where I can, but I'm not the best with wording. So I spent a day or so with yourself up in Frails. I stayed in Frails pub, which was a great place to stay. And I found that 1910 washing machine, and that video goes live tomorrow, by the way. That was a great find. But I also went out with you on some repairs, but we had a lot of cancellations and everything due to, well, people running their lives and just cancelling because they couldn't make the appointment and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of cancellations where some people maybe thought that their appliance was working again, so then they thought they would just cancel, and then it just so happens that them customers have come back and now to say that, you know, it hasn't worked again and we're going to need you out, you know.
Right.
This is the thing. The
So when
joys.
we went, if I can recall, when we went, we had a 3-year-old fridge freezer, which was a CDA, if I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it wasn't that old, 2 to 3 year old CDA fridge freezer that the compressor had packed up on.
And it's amazing, a 3-year-old appliance. I mean, this is one of the problems with heat pump tumble dryers today are refrigeration units. And I haven't even gone in on this show yet to the problems that are occurring in the UK with regards the recycling of these units. Now, if you could hold with me 1 second, Donald, while I get, because Burke, I did a refrigeration video on a scrapyard that was being shut down in South Wales. They used to predominantly deal with 1.2 million fridge freezers a year. This company then sold the company to another company. And this company went bankrupt. Well, in my opinion, they were offsetting the problem. onto the government and not having the liability against themselves. I don't understand the bottom half of it. But then a couple of weeks later, we had this Carmarthen Council have now started to be refusing to take refrigeration in on their recycle centres. Yeah, you'll need to sit back a bit, mate. Your camera's picking your chest up and not you. But listen to this. We made an audio recording on this.
Carmarthenshire Council stops fridge recycling as centres face storage crisis. Carmarthenshire County Council has told residents that fridges, freezers and other cooling appliances can no longer be accepted at any of the county's recycling centres until further notice. The council says the temporary suspension comes as recycling centres across Carmarthenshire have reached and even exceeded their safe storage capacity for refrigeration appliances. It says ongoing disruption at external treatment facilities is to blame. Residents have been asked not to bring these items to recycling centres as sites will be unable to accept them. Carmarthenshire County Council's Cabinet Member for Transport, Waste and Infrastructure, Councillor Edward Thomas, said, "Unfortunately, circumstances beyond our control have resulted in a temporary disruption to the collection and processing of refrigeration appliances. Our recycling centres have now reached their storage limits for these items, and we have had to suspend acceptance until further notice. We understand this will cause inconvenience for some residents and would like to thank them for their patience and cooperation while we work with our partners to resolve the situation."
Now, what I want to get at here is this plant in South Wales most probably was receiving Carmarthenshire's refrigeration. But heat pump tumble dryers are going to add to this problem, because heat pump tumble dryers are going to have to be recycled in exactly the same way as refrigeration units. Do you understand what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, so basically that council, they're not taking any more fridges.
No. And that's because
So-
the main video, when I nearly got arrested down in Newport Docks because they accidentally let me in, I got to the barrier, they let me into the Port Authority docks. And when they saw me on CCTV camera filming the 20,000 fridge freezers that were down there, because basically the whole of this problem has been dumped now because this company went bankrupt on the government and Newport Port authorities. But this is the consequence. And we haven't even got to the point really where heat pump tumble dryers are going to be a bigger problem than refrigeration in the future because they're failing in such a short lifespan. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, so I've got some questions for you and I have sent these out for you. What's your opinion on these heat pump tumble dryers?
Yeah, well, the opinion of me is that I think people should have a choice, whether we have them or we don't have them. Certain people, with the energy efficient homes and that maybe want them and maybe,
Yes.
see them as an alternative. But I think we need the choice, obviously, if they're going to go to the disposal dump and they're full of gas and these dumps are not going to accept them, I mean, what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, and we've
it's
got
just
enough. We've got enough fly tipping in Britain going on at the moment, and if councils aren't able to accept the heat pump tyres and refrigeration going in to these yards, what is going to happen? People are going to be dumping them over a hedge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this happens so often in the UK. Also, next question for you is with regards to heat pump tumble dryers, how many of your customers are keeping these type of tumble dryers or any tumble dryer in outhouses and sheds?
It's kind of hard to gauge how
In
many of them are
percentage
keeping them out there, but any of the calls, or maybe say 60% of the calls that we get for them are people that have had them outhouses. So you would say like 60% of them calls are tumble dryers that are maybe in the shed, or they're not part of the actual existing home. They're stored
Yeah,
outside, and this becomes the problem,
it's okay.
where, as you
It's okay
say,
in a
yeah,
warm. It's okay in a warm spring or a warm summer when it's raining. Yeah, they're efficient and they work. But when temperatures drop down below 8, 9 degrees, they are totally inefficient. They are taking a lot longer to dry. Would you agree with that
a lot,
statement?
yeah, a lot longer to dry it, and then you worry. Then you consider, then is it really saving you any money, because you're spending that extra bit of electricity to run that dryer that bit longer, so the clothes dry, where the other dryer would have took maybe half the time, and you wouldn't have been using as much maybe electricity. Wear and tear of your clothes too as well. The dryer is going to be like obviously damaging the fabric of the clothes, because the tumblers, the drums turning more rotations. You know,
Yeah. Well,
all
we
these
haven't.
things.
We haven't really looked at, and I haven't really discussed in depth, but when a machine takes twice as long to dry the clothes as a vented dryer, that's twice the amount of wear and tear on bearings, felt pads, belts, bearings in the motor, and so on, which is going to shorten the lifespan of the machine. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And definitely with some of these manufacturers that are making piss poor quality parts to begin with, and putting the dryer out there as cheap as they can do it, it's not going to help our environment if we just
No,
keep putting these
not at
things to
all.
the skip,
I mean,
you know.
I'm all for heat pump tumble dryers when they get the filtration correct, and the longevity of the appliance. In other words, it lasts 10 years, because then the extra cost that we pay for the machines is offset over a period of time by the energy saving. But when the energy saving is only £40 a year, but the machine only lasts 3 or 4 years, it's not offsetting the difference. There is no benefit to the consumer whatsoever.
Absolutely not. And I think we're just not been given the choice of whether we
Yeah,
want these or we don't want them. It's just been brought in, and that's the way it is. And I think that's where everybody needs to sign the petition.
yeah. No, look, getting people to sign these petitions is exceedingly hard, because I think a lot of people nowadays have been complacent, and they just accept the fact that Parliament is going to dictate to them, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of things, even the electric vehicles. There are benefits, and don't get me wrong, but our road infrastructure is not designed for it yet. So we're introducing technology which is going to fail because of the infrastructure that is there at the moment. But we're getting sidetracked on this. The next question I wanted to ask you, from an engineer's point of view, how do you find the accessibility for serviceability? In other words, as an engineer, if customers rang you up with regards heat pump tumble dryer not drying in the allocated period of time, or not drying very well, what would be your response to the customer, and what would be entailed with regards what you would have to do?
Yeah, I would be a bit like where Barry is there. I mean, I would probably end up taking that back to the workshop and stripping it down. And that's going to take, an excess of maybe a couple of hours labor before we
Yeah,
even start to do any work, like any parts or anything on top of that. We don't really know, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably blocked up with gunk and all the stuff for the day that comes off a tumble dryer. And accessibility, it's just non-existent that I can see, unless the newer stuff out now that Barry was talking about, maybe it's a bit better, but they need to do
yeah.
something drastically different.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing this earlier, and this is the type of blockage that you can see on the screen. I don't know if you got it on the phone, but this is a
Yeah,
typical type of blockage that restricts the airflow going through the evaporator or condenser, when this happens, because that's 80% covered, that means the machine is going to be 80% less efficient if it will dry the clothes at all. Yeah. And just with that type of blockage. And that's just one of many machines that are out there. Quabs today went out to one and it was already semi-blocked and someone had done damage to the plates because trying to clean it themselves, they have damaged the actual...
You can see that
yeah,
we've already
here,
got some
someone
of
had
that on
damaged and
there.
bent over.
Right.
Can you just drop the volume on
Now,
that? We don't need to hear him on this one.
I'm going to have to try and brush that off, but I can see already that
Okay.
those...
Are you able to kill the audio?
Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
no, it's gone now. That's great. So a customer had already tried to clean this and bent over half the fins at the bottom. Yeah. And of course, it's reblocked up on the outside. Well, of course, if you bend the fins over in the middle, you're actually making the air get sucked in a different location. So this is why it's blocking up around the edges. But again, this is down to customers also not cleaning the filters regularly. Yeah. And fluff eventually gets past the filters and gets into the evaporator and condenser. And once this happens, it's a workshop job to clean out, you know, this is only what we can see. What is further back on the machine? Have you stripped many of these yet?
Yeah, I stripped a couple. And again, it's very labor intensive to do it, you know. But not only that, is whenever that gets in there, it seems to want to hold moisture within them coils, which causes then further like rusting on the coils,
Yeah.
which then
Well, if
damages
it,
it, you know, over time.
yeah, if the water can't trickle down to the collection tray and then the pump transfer it to the tank, what actually happens is more fluff starts to stick to the actual metal fins. And the problem being is with the temperatures that it's operating, once that fluff dries, it becomes paper mache. And it's nearly, you know, without pressure washing, it's, you know, you can't clean between these fins that easy. This is an evaporator and a condenser. So not only have you got the fluff on the front one, the fluff has now gone all the way through to the condenser unit. Yeah. And this means
Yeah,
it's a total strip down to clean this machine and it needs to be pressure washed. A high air might not necessarily clean that on its own. You might actually need to actually pressure wash it to remove this hardened, built up fluff. Because as you said, it does get moist.
then it becomes then obviously more expensive to run that dryer because that dryer's working even harder to try
Harder.
and dry them clothes, you know.
Yeah, we've gone from a 2-hour cycle to a 3-hour cycle because of this. Yeah. Which then means
Yeah.
another 50% or another 50% on the wear and tear of components. You know, I think a lot of legislation is brought onto us now through Parliament and other bits and pieces without people living in the real world and understanding the problems. And serviceability has got to be first in mind when it comes to technology like this. And this is one of the
Yeah,
reasons we bought the petition. In Northern Ireland
100%.
now, although Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, in Northern Ireland, am I correct in saying this, that now heat pump tumble dryers are already mandatory over there?
Yeah, basically none of the retailers are allowed to sell any vented or condenser tumble dryers unless they have maybe existing old stock or something like that, which there will probably be some stock floating about, but that will not last that long. Sooner or later, that
No,
stock is going to dwindle.
no, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show. Someone was saying that a retailer down his neck of the woods basically had bought up hundreds of condensers and vented tumble dryers because I knew exactly what the retailer was doing. He's basically saying I can make 50% markup on these machines in 6 months' time when they put the ban in place. Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's going to
yeah,
be able to get more money for them.
yeah. I mean, that's, you know, again, that's, you know, you can't fault this guy for trying to make a living and off the back end of this too, but I mean, sooner or later, there just won't be any of them if they keep enforcing. If they're going to enforce this, there will be no
Oh, very
condenser
much so.
or vented dryers.
But there'll also be very few engineers that are ever able to work on them because, as you well know, with the legislation that is in place to actually work on refrigeration units and degas them, or to fill them with gas, or to do any of the work on the gas circuit, you need certification from a body to govern to be able to do this. You can't just cut refrigeration units to change a compressor. You've actually got to have the qualifications and the certification to be allowed to do it, which means more cost to the engineer, which has to be recouped from the general public.
Yeah. Um, it's just it just doesn't make sense. The whole thing just doesn't make sense. I think people just need the option if they want one of these or they don't. I mean, I think us as a society need to have options.
Yeah. And I'm all for, I fully understand people in apartment blocks and everything deciding, and I have seen lots of comments where people have said, oh, it's a huge saving on my electricity bill. But really, it is a saving on their electricity bill until the machine fails in 4 years. Yeah. And they've got to buy a new one, because now they're going to be spending £200-300 more than they did originally. Yeah, because the cost of these heat pump tumble dryers are a minimum of £450, really.
Yeah, minimum. And I mean, if you're changed, like if it only lasts you, God forbid, 2, 3 years, you're having to go out there and buy another one, and the only one you're going to be able to get is a heat pump. So therefore, you have to spend another maybe £500 to £600, and it's just going to be a cycle where all this stuff ends up on the tip.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
what
even if you bought, I'm not going to name drop here because that would be unfair on the manufacturers. But if we bought the cheapest vented tumble dryer we could get in a superstore, you would still be able to maintain it for 4 or 5 years. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, the cheapest vented one, we could maintain it for a very, very long time. You know,
And
I
if you were
mean,
buying something like a Bosch vented tumble dryer or condenser tumble dryer, if you were handy on the tools or a DIYer or an engineer, you would be able to get that machine pretty much with any problem with the heating circuit repaired for less than £100.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Now,
that
if
becomes
the heating Yeah, but if the heating system goes wrong because it's a refrigeration unit on these heat pump tumble dryers, you are going to be into a minimum repair of about, well, even if you've got workshops and everything else, you're still going to have to be charging 160 odd pounds. Going out there, picking the machine up, doing the job, then taking it back to the customer. Yeah, it's got to be 160 pounds for it to be worthwhile for an engineer.
Yeah, and even at that, if the customer or Joe Blogs thinks, you know what, I'll have a go at this myself, it's not something that Joe Blogs needs to be footering with. You've got
No.
R290 or R600 in there, which is highly flammable. You're just opening a can of worms.
Yeah, very much so. And there is detrimental damage with YouTube with regards a lot of people putting videos on YouTube which aren't correct sometimes. Yeah, I've seen them. You've seen them. Yeah, these 2-minute shorts that show you how to fix something, and really you've got no understanding what you're doing. Yeah, and you're trying to learn something in 2 minutes with a short. You're not going to learn anything off a 2-minute short when it comes to one of these heat pump tumble dryers.
No, definitely not. There's so many
You
bits
know,
and bobs. Like it's so intricated of what's actually in this dryer that, between circuit boards and wiring and sensors and compressors and pipe work, it's even us guys, we maybe have to do one or two of them till we get to know what we're doing knowledge wise, you know, for Joe Blogs to start to try to do this, it's just never going to happen.
Never. I'm not even going to be making in-depth videos on these, because I might do one or two general videos, which I have done in the past to show them. But this is something, you most probably on a heat pump tumble dryer have at least 5 or 6 sensors. You've got compressor
Yeah.
temperature sensors. You've got gas pressure sensors. Yeah. You've got temperature sensors inside the drum, inside the evaporator, inside the condenser. You've got airflow sensors. I mean, it's a minefield to diagnose the problem.
Yeah, and the biggest problem too is the fact that, and we've already mentioned it, is the accessibility for anybody to actually clean these things out, or if, for God forbid, the compressor failed or the refrigerant end of it failed. Like, I mean, there needs to be an easy access point to either replace that whole unit or give it a good clean, but
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to be there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I just had to change my camera settings because it was actually getting dark here. So I've been streaming for too long. Now, if there's one thing you could say to politicians, how would you explain the situation with heat pump tumble dryers from an engineer's point of view, also thinking of the consumer as well?
One thing I could say to the politicians, I mean,
Try not to swear.
I think it's just only fair that the consumer has the right to either keep or buy a vented or condenser tumble dryer. I think us as engineers, we're on the ground, we see what's happening, and we don't necessarily like these units. We think they're hard to work on. They're not really fit for purpose. Certain people maybe, but in this UK weather, I wouldn't like to be using one on it, just in my
Would
house.
you agree, as an individual repair engineer, with the statement I'm going to make? If general public rang up a shop and said, I have an integrated built-in dishwasher or an integrated built-in fridge freezer or a heat pump tumble dryer, if an engineer is busy, he's going to shy away from that work. Would you agree with that statement? Because of the
Yeah,
complexity.
just everything's a wee bit just more difficult to access. And I mean, definitely there's going to be engineers there that won't even touch heat pump dryers, and they'll just not even go near them.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's absolutely crazy the way the appliance industry is going now, and the manufacturers seem to be wiping out all the small businesses that used to look after the community's appliances, because over complexity is making it a very difficult industry for us to operate in. You'd agree with that?
Yeah, very complex, as you say. But my biggest gripe, I think, Paul, is just that they're not making like components and things the way they used to make them. Like, I was even out with probably a 25 to 30-year-old oven the other day, and even the rating plate that was on the oven was metal and fully riveted onto the oven. Where there was 25, 30 years that oven, you were never ever not going to miss that rating plate or what model that was. Where now they just stick the cheapest sticker that they can on it, and within a year, 2 years, that's rubbed off. There's no like, pride and the work that they're making, and that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah, very much. I agree with you completely. Look, I'm grateful for you jumping on, especially after hours and everything else. It was great to spend some time with you and get to know what you do and, the community that you work within. That video will be coming up in most probably 3 to 4 weeks, because we've got a backlog of videos which are coming out. And of course, Burkeye. Burkeye has got a lot of editing to do, because I keep traveling, visiting people, and passing him huge files that he has to work on and everything else. Burkeye, while you're there, mate, I know Ecamm is working much better, but I'm not sure some of the people will be able to use it. I'm pretty sure Christian will be. So if you pass me the Ecamm, it's that one. I've got it. I'm going to pass this to Christian now. It's all right. We're trying not to be on here, Donald, for 5 hours. We're trying to sort of keep it to 2. Let me just go. Okay, you got me
I don't know,
back?
Paul. It seemed to me bad connection there.
Yeah, no, that was my end. It could have been something to do with Starlink dropping out for a few seconds, because I'm actually running on Starlink, as you know. So occasionally there might be something going on in the world and all the satellites go blank for a second. So I've got all that. So I'm just going to pass Christian a link so he's got it. And I've also got to say if you're available. Say if you're available, please. Trying to run all this from a van is very difficult, and of course he's in Ireland as well. So Burkay, while we're waiting for Christian, do you want to bring up some questions? Maybe Donald can help me.
Yeah, mate, just a second. I have some questions for you guys.
Okay, lovely. I do appreciate your time, Donald, by the way.
Paul, send us over that make of that coffee that you gave me the last time you were over. That was really nice.
Oh, Portuguese coffee, mate.
Yeah, it was really good.
You can buy it on Amazon. It's Delta. Yeah. The problem being is in Portugal, I buy this for €3. On Amazon's the only place I can find it in the UK, and they sell it for, I think, about £10 a pouch.
Yeah, maybe take a
Don't quote.
screenshot or that. I must get some of it.
Yeah, no problem. You see, Portuguese coffee goes down well everywhere.
Definitely. Definitely was nice.
Okay,
Better
Burkay,
than the
can you
stuff
fire
that you've
some
been getting.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Okay.
In the real world,
Okay.
do the customers actually use a 4 hours eco cycle, or do they just crank it to the fastest setting and wipe out the supposed energy savings? What do you think about it?
Well, there
This
is
is
regards heat pump dryers you're on about, Burkay?
Yep, exactly.
Well, to be honest, a heat pump tumble dryer can only dry at one heat setting because when the compressor's running, it might be able to lower the temperature slightly, but the optimum temperature that a heat pump tumble dryer will be running at is somewhere, don't quote me on this, but I would say about 40 to 45 degrees. Would you agree, Donald?
Yeah, probably when it starts to get into full motion, you probably could see
Yeah, it's
that all
about
right. Yeah.
40. So the only actual thing that the only thing that can control the temperature, Burkay, is thermostatic systems. And that would mean that the compressor would run or cycle for a shorter period of time. It can't do anything else apart from circulate the air through the machine and use the compressor slightly less. I can't see the benefits of that, really. But, you know, manufacturers do so many bits and pieces, it's crazy. What's your view, Donald?
What I find is consumers would tend to use the quickest option possible. So they nearly have it on the quickest setting all the time. And that can either be a good or a bad thing, but it just shows like the way that we're living as a society as we want everything quick. And I mean, the heat pump tumble dryer is going to be no way quick. If you're looking for the quickness, I doubt you're going to have to get the vented or the condenser.
Yeah, very much so. I just WhatsApp you the coffee, so you should have had that.
Fantastic.
Okay, Burkay, is there any questions from general public there?
Let me check the comments, mate.
I can see bloody hundreds in there. Tell me if Christian turns up, by the way.
Not yet for now.
Okay. I might also send the eCam link to someone else as well, just in case. So let me send this to Malcolm as well. But some of we're running so late, it might be slightly hard. So, right, Sean, in America, the tumble dryers are all vented. Everyone in the US has a dryer. I don't understand if they got the weather for it, why they don't use a washing line. Yeah, well, problem being is we're like certain states in America. It just rains for so much of the year. You know, when you consider Northern Ireland, where Donald's from, what would you say, Donald? 250 days rain a year?
Yeah, definitely. Rain and cold is about all you get over here.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, it's you know, you've got to build appliances to suit the climatic conditions of a country. Now, they're building chest freezers, for example, for Ireland and the UK. But now they've gone inverter boards. All these chest freezers are out in garages and sheds where there is moisture, and the circuit boards are getting damaged by the moisture. Would you agree with that, Donald?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Right.
But
Planet Earth being,
what I don't understand, Paul, is, how come America hasn't, decided that they're only going to use heat pump dryers? It seems to be just our country that has brought this on board,
no,
and maybe even
the European Union is bringing it in across the board. Yeah.
yeah,
The problem being is in America, they are they do have heat pump tumble dryers. Don't get me wrong, they have a lot of heat pump tumble dryers, but they are much bigger cabinets. If you went to Ben's Appliances, for example, which is another YouTube channel, he shows you the Samsung heat pump dryers, and it's a huge machine, and it's got a nice filter system that you drag out of it and everything. It's got an auto cleaning system built into it. The bigger the appliance, the more you can do with regards auto cleaning systems. But when we're trying to pack it into a 600 cabinet, yeah, it's ridiculous. We're trying to ram too much technology in a very small box.
Paul.
yeah. I was just wondering like how that was working out,
Yeah. No, I
Malcolm.
do know America has them. Sorry, Burka, you said something then?
Yeah, Malcolm was calling, but it's just declined right now.
Oh, right. You didn't come on.
No, because you were talking. I couldn't interfere.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, you should have. Sorry. Okay. I'll say goodbye to Donald then, and I'll tell Malcolm. Okay. Ready. Sorry, I'm multitasking here.
Yeah, well, that'll do, Paul. I'll batter on, sure, and thanks
Yeah.
for
Thanks very much
having me on.
indeed for your time. Hope everything's going well, and we'll look forward to your video in a few weeks' time, mate.
That'll do. Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, while we're waiting for Malcolm or Christian,
Yeah. Tell him to call again, right?
I have done. I've said okay, ready to Malcolm, so I'll wait for him to hit the link again. Do you want to bring up another? Oh, here we go. Good afternoon, sir. Sorry for the lateness. Can you hear us okay?
Is that me? Hello, Paul.
How are you doing, mate? I'm sorry for the lateness. This just is dragging on, and everyone's got their opinion. And I had a great idea that I could do this in a couple of hours, and I'm going to get shot by my editor now because he's going to be up until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So, how's things down in your neck of the woods? And tell us a bit about your company. Tell us about your company, what you do, where you're based, and the areas you cover.
Can I just say what great accents, and then you bring me on? Thanks, Paul. So I'm in West Midlands in Birmingham, Coventry, and got a couple of companies, and we repair appliances, we rent appliances, and we sell reconditioned graded appliances. We don't sell new stuff, so it's more the reconditioned stuff we use, and we sell to some people who prefer to have reconditioned stuff, which can't afford the new stuff. Really, we sell them stuff that's
Well,
going to
is that
last. That's
is that an important thing in your area? Because I have been to your shop, and it's a shop where we've got normal people who are living on 30 to 40,000 incomes and struggling sometimes. Would you agree with that statement?
absolutely, yeah. We've got everybody here. We've got every demographic. It's rich people, poor people, people who've got nothing, and people got everything really. So it really is a wide spectrum.
Right. Now, would you say rental of machines? Could you ever see yourself going into renting heat pump tumble dryers?
I have rented a couple, and it's usually for people who are really struggling and want to bring their energy bills down. But I have to say, I mean, I can probably give a slightly different perspective to everybody else. We have to buy from the recycling centres. That's the way the industry is set up. So the recycling centres, they're massive. They're really well set up. I've got against them. It's a low recycling rate that they produce. The stuff gets back and it ends up in the centre. Then they pick the best out of it, and they might recycle 2% what they get. In some cases, on some products, it's 0%. And oil pumps on any of my vans, bring them back now because I believe they can't test them properly because it's done in big factories. The factories are cold, ambient temperature. They can't really give us a really reliable product that I can sell or rent out to my customers. And if they do come back in and I've sold them, there's not a lot we can do. There's just no way in that round unless it's a belt or a pump or a capacitor, really. Anything else, it's in that and producing a lot of heat pumps that just don't work when we get them.
Yeah, and serviceability is a big problem on these machines. Would you agree with that?
Massive. It's a disaster. It's a complete disaster. It really is.
Yeah, I just do not understand how legislation can be forced on us when there is no reliability there. You imagine having electric cars forced on us. You at the moment you're seeing more breakdown trucks on the UK roads because all the electric cars can't go to the local garages to be repaired. They have to go to the main dealer, and this is happening exactly with the appliances.
I think you're right, and I think it has bearing on something else as well. So at this time of year, nobody's repairing tumble dryers. Everybody's got their washing out on the line. So business is down probably a third, if I'm generous, really. Might be 2/3 of what it normally is. So in September, it will pick up, and that's because tumble dryers will be going out the door. We'll be renting them, we'll be selling them, we'll be repairing them, and business will pick up, and we'll be back to where we should be, and we probably will be for till next April, May, June, round about there. But if there's going to be less tumble dryers over the year to repair, is the trade going to be viable? Because a third of the business is just going to disappear. What we're going to replace it? We're going to put the prices up by a third to cover that.
I mean,
it's just going to disappear. Nobody's going to be repairing them.
No, and this is what's going to happen: is machines are going to last what the manufacturers dictate in the lifespan, which I'm assuming they're trying to sort of design these things to last 4 or 5 years outside of the warranty, but look reasonably good. And then when they fail, they have to be replaced. And instead of replacing it with a £200 vented dryer, we're going to be forced into forking out $450, which means more money coming off the consumer to the manufacturers. The only winner here is the government raising more revenue, and the manufacturers selling more machines. There is no benefit to the end user.
We've outsourced our quality control to the other side of the world, and we are paying a massive price for that.
Yeah.
Massive price.
And this is why we need more British manufacturers. I mean, we'll be having this conversation most probably in a few weeks' time, and you know what I'm talking about here. But I see there is great opportunity. We don't need multiple different machines. We need one machine, which is a 9-kilo machine, whether it's a washing machine or a tumble dryer, that is built to have longevity and serviceability. No other gizmos whatsoever. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no auto dosing systems. Just a simple 1000 spin, yeah, and it does 9 kilos, and it does 3 washes, 40, 60, 90, and maybe an eco, yeah. And we don't need any more than that.
We knew how to do this 30 or 40 years ago. We knew how to make a machine that would last 30 years. I've been listening to the lads now, you know, anecdotal stories on going out to a machine at 25, 30 years. We've all been, we can do this. We absolutely can do it. We're not being allowed to do it, and it's been outsourced to the other side of the world. And they don't want to do that. They want to sell to us every 4 or 5 years. It's a complete disaster, the whole thing. And heat pumps is, you know, on the disaster we're already having.
Well, I think even the latest generations of washing machines since, and you know all about this, since the introduction around 2010 with the sealed drums, the whole industry is designed about washing machines lasting no longer than 5 years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And behind me, that is all drums ready to go to be repaired for the British manufacturer, EBAC. Anything else now coming from the other side of the world, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is just designed to last 4 or 5 years, and then you can go out and buy one. We've trained the kids to change their phones every 12 months. You know, we're now being trained to change our appliances every 3, 4, 5 years. And that's
Well,
I
this
sent
is
my dishwasher today, and it's falling to bits.
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest problems with the youngest generation. They have slowly been introduced over the last 30 years of what I call generational reduction in lifespan. And what I'm meaning here is every 10 years, the manufacturers make things last a little bit less and a little bit less. And the younger generation of people that are coming to the table now and getting jobs and getting their own houses think a washing machine should only last 5 years long. Yeah. And you know, they have no, they look at us old people and they think we're barking mad when we tell them that we had washing machines that lasted 25 years. They just can't believe that sort of concept. But yet the technology has not improved with regards to the basic functions.
Yeah, and I started off in the aerospace industry, so there you see real quality. And if you look at machines that are like 30 years old, the finishing's been done on the cabinets, and you know, as the gentleman said earlier, the rating plate was riveted on. We know how to do
Yeah.
it. We can do this. We could do it.
But if we look at a manufacturer like Bosch and we talk about serviceability, and, you know, when you look at the Bosch, where Bosch made their reputation with their tumble dryers and washing machines, and I can include Zanussi and AEG in this, they built cabinets with serviceability in mind. Those same cabinets today, with Bosch especially, are exactly the same as they were 25, 30 years ago. The accessibility is there, the serviceability is there if they had machines that were repairable. But Bosch as a manufacturer has started to use pricing structures to build obsolescence into the machines via sealed drums, circuit boards that are too expensive to be replaced, and many other components as well. Things like door seals and pumps and stuff like that, they're all affordable across the whole range. But apart from Miele, of course. But when it comes to longevity in machines, if you've got a sealed washing machine drum, you've never got a chance of repairing it if the machine is £360 for the drum and the brand new washing machine costs only £469. It's madness.
Yep.
So a few
And the
questions
price
with
would be
you with
quite cool.
a few questions with you with regards to these heat pump tumble dryers. You know, how many are you seeing out there? Because you've got a different retail perspective to some of the other people that have been on. You repair machines locally, and you mainly supply rental or second-hand machines to your area. Yeah. How
Yeah.
how well has heat pump tumble dryers taken off in your area?
Not really. I'd say the main people who come into our shop really are going to go for condensers or vented all day long. The only people we seem to come in and ask about heat pumps really seem to be people from other countries, and they seem to be Spanish or Romanian or Portuguese, etc., etc. They seem to be more gelled up on it. But here, it's just not something that people are interested in
And I
buying or
think,
looking at. They're probably
would you
just
also,
struggling too much. Really.
yeah, would you also say pricing? I mean, you've got to remember that the pricing on heat pump tumble dryers are a minimum of £450. That is really the entry level pricing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and the reconditioned ones are £250. So they're still quite expensive if it's a reconditioned one compared to
Yeah,
normal one.
especially, I mean, if you were taking a Hotpoint vented second-hand tumble dryer in good condition and everything, that would normally sell out the door for about £90 to £100. Would I?
Say that again. Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
I said if it was a vented second-hand machine that was reconditioned or a condenser, a vented would be say about £90 to £100, and a condenser would be about £130. Would I be around the ballpark?
Yeah, not far off. A little bit higher than that, really. But
Yeah.
the price is dictated to by the recycling centres. They hold the price
Oh, very
high,
much
so
so.
we have to
Yeah.
put our margin
And as
on top
you
of
know,
that.
as you said earlier, a lot of these big superstores now, like Marks Electrical, AO, Curry's, they are not letting any second-hand machines go to the engineers that can repair them because they want them off the marketplace, because they only want to be selling new. So the second-hand industry is basically being wiped out.
Yeah, and it has been for a long time. I think the we
Yeah.
directive really has shut a lot of shops. Really, it's I don't think it's been great. The stuff gets bashed on multiple trucks on its way to the recycling centres. So then they only pick out the absolute,
The
the
cream of the crop.
cherries out of it, cream of the crop, and they turn that round, and the rest of it goes to the crusher.
Yeah. And
So I don't see how that's working.
none of the good working components are ever saved. They just go in there for the precious metals. In other
Yeah.
words, aluminium, copper, and steel. That's all they're interested in. But I don't even think they're interested in that anymore. I think they're just interested in taking stuff off the marketplace.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind if the recycling centres were involved with the prisons. I mean, it'd be great to see prisoners moving into these recycling centres and turning stuff around. It'd be a great training program. And that stuff that's got a bit of a dent on, a dink on, really, it could be turned around and it could be put back into the bottom of society that's really struggling. But instead, what they're being given is a machine that might last 18 months.
Now
So the councils are going,
I have to pay compliment here to AO, because I am aware of a place exactly like you just said. I was
yeah,
involved with Homespare. Homespare have gone bankrupt now, but they had a place in Bolton, and John Farnsworth was involved in some way up there. And next to them, they had a rehabilitation centre, and AO were donating a lorry load of appliances every month or so to them,
yeah,
so that they could train people coming out of prisons to fix washing machines and cookers. That's great.
perfect.
I'm all for
Yeah.
that, and I take my hat off to AO supporting a project like that. But when the government is really allowing the industry to go, the whole industry to go down the Swanee, what's the point of training them in an industry which is disappearing?
Yeah, and we took machines into a prison somewhere around here about 10 years ago where the guards, they were civil servant guards, not the GS4 they've got now. They'd trained themselves to repair washing machines, and then they were training the prisoners. And I thought, what a fantastic thing to do. So it could be done. You know.
Yeah.
So
You know, people make mistakes in life, and they do go to prison, and they're letting a lot of people out early. I've listened to it on the news today, but they've got to come out to some type of industry and work. Yeah. They can't just come out onto the streets and have nothing to do, because it's going to lead them back into the same problems that they had when they went in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we're going off topic. We're going on to politics here, and we're leaving the
back to topic, mate. You can knock out some comments if you want.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you stay there, because you might be able to help with some of these as pops up on the screen. So I'll just go through some of these. Planet Earth being, how does the new rule impact commercial? Good question. How does the new rule impact commercial laundromats? Can they use vented tumble dryers? Now, I was very surprised to find out the other day, because I'm in a camper van traveling all over Europe. The majority of all the garages that have tumble dryers in are not heat pump technology. They are actually vented tumble dryers, or I think they're all vented tumble dryers. Did you know that, Malcolm?
No, not at all. No clue.
Yeah. I've actually was talking to one of the service guys in Ireland, who was doing some maintenance on one of the machines, because they have normally an 8-kilo washer, a 15-kilo washer, and a 20-kilo dryer in all these petrol stations. But those dryers that they had there were vented tumble dryers. So how can the government preach one thing but allow that to happen on another scale? Very interesting question. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Flick on to the next one, mate. Nicholas, what is the effect of these dryer types on clothing shrinkage? Actually, heat pump tumble dryers do dry the clothes in a softer way. And if you do, you see, a vented tumble dryer will dry the clothes efficiently, and so will a condenser tumble dryer. But sometimes the user doesn't set the machine up correctly and puts the wrong material in, meaning that they may put delicate items in which will shrink. This is a user fault more than a machine fault. And the heat pump tumble dryers can never achieve temperatures above a heat pump tumble dryer will never go above 50 degrees, because the refrigeration process can never let that happen. What's your verdict on that, Malcolm?
Yeah, agree with that. I mean, I have used heat pumps for my own clothes, and they work perfectly well, and they don't shrink the clothes.
No,
it's just a
and
shame
they take 50% longer to dry, though. So it all depends on what you're putting in. But really, I have nothing against heat pump tumble dryers, and I've got to emphasize this to everyone. My problem is reliability, longevity, and being able to have a choice, because not everyone has their tumble dryer in their house. Some people have them in garages, and a heat pump tumble dryer will not function correctly really below 10 degrees. Would you agree with that, Malcolm?
Absolutely, which is where the recycling centres are going to really struggle, because their factories are cold, and that's why they're kicking out stuff that's always as reliable or working to the standards it should be.
Yeah, no, very much so. Bring another one up, Burkite. Excuse me smoking, but if I'm here for 3 hours, I will have my vices. Eco Bubble Lab. My candy condenser literally died today. Sorry to hear it, mate. Dreading getting a heat pump to replace it. Well, it depends on where you are at the moment. Shop around, have a look on the internet. You might be able to find a condenser or vented. And I wouldn't go down the candy route either. What's your opinion there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What
It's just
what would you say is the best dryers really for the money on vented and condenser? Ones that are still being that you could still get your hands on today.
I think if you got all the engineers on here, they'd all have a different opinion. But we sell a lot of Beco just because it's simple. The parts are cheap, they're easy to
Affordable.
fix, and quite
And
affordable, quite reliable.
this is what I'm going to praise Beco for. They're not necessarily always the best machine in the world, but Beco do have prices on components that are affordable, and
Yeah.
most engineers have technical access to their database, which means that you can get the service manual. You can actually find out what the ohms resistance should be on an NTC sensor. When you consider the higher end manufacturers, LG, Samsung, Bosch, Miele, none of these companies will give most people the information to repair the machine. So there is a balance here. Although you have quality, you also have accessibility to be able to gain the information you need to repair the machines. Thanks for that one, mate. Next one.
Well, actually, we are getting lots of comments about washing machines, but I'm not displaying them as you don't want.
No, don't. They're going to have to wait for another show. I'm not using people like Malcolm and everyone else's time up. This is just about heat pump tumble dryers. So if it's a tumble dryer question, we'll try and answer it. If it's not, wait for another show. So if there's any there, no one else has tried to come in, Burkay?
No, mate, no one.
Right, I'm just going to pass one more link out. So I think Christian is unavailable, and I think Grant I will send the link to now. So see if Grant comes in, and also I will send the link to Andrew. Yeah, so one of those two may come in. Otherwise, we'll only go for another half hour or so because it's been coming up 2 hours, or 3 hours. 3 hours already. So bring another question up while we're waiting.
We are up to date with the heat pump dryer comment.
We're up to date with the questions. Okay, brilliant. So Malcolm, I've sent you the link out to this petition. I'd be grateful if you can share it round and everything. Because that's what this show's all about, is getting people to be aware that the petition's there. So basically the government doesn't enforce heat pump tumble dryers on us and allows us to either choose vented or condenser dryers. But I do thank you for your time. I will be... Oh, he's dropped out. Okay.
Ground is calling right now.
Okay, take Grant.
Okay, it's very quick.
Hiya, Grant. Have you got
Hello,
your
how you
camera on?
doing?
All right, mate. We're in a pretty poor area. Now, is that sunshine where you are?
That is in sunny Cornwall.
Well, okay, I need to head south because I'm in West Cumbria. So, look, we've been running exceedingly late, and I do apologise for having you on so late in the evening. You know, we're trying to answer questions, trying to get everyone connected and everything. We've had to miss out on a few people, and we've been running 3 hours already. First, as you know, Grant is one of the supporters of the Right to Repair Act. And he also runs a company in Colchester, but I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us about your company.
So, I'm Grant, run a company in Colchester, Essex called GS Appliance. We offer oven cleaning, appliance repair, and appliance installation, covering the Essex and Suffolk area for all appliance needs.
Well, I'm going to be really looking forward to having a look at how you are cleaning cookers today. And one of the reasons I'm coming down to you later is to have a look at this, because with all the new chemical rules and everything else, it's brilliant how you are getting cookers back into perfect condition again using some of the modern technology and chemicals today. I think I've seen some of the results that you've done and some of the comments on your Google feeds and other bits and pieces. So I'm really looking forward to coming and having a look at that. But this is predominantly about heat pump tumble dryers. Now, do you sell appliances? I wasn't too sure if you actually sell appliances.
Yeah, so we predominantly sell appliances from our jobs. So when engineers are out on site, we then look after our customers and supply and fit new products for them to solve their problems.
Right. So you don't actually run a showroom. You just get, if a customer's got a problem with a washing machine and it's a write-off, you'll offer them a choice or say to them, what machine would you be looking at, and then supply the machine for that purpose.
Yeah, so we're a complete bespoke service. So we're not online. We don't have a shop. We just quote per the need. So if a customer needs a new product, then we offer them 3 quotes, a low, a mid, and a high, depending on what they want to go for.
And of course, what you recommend in appliance types that you know that are good and everything else, I imagine.
Yeah, so we sort of stick by our brands that we're happy with and that we'll recommend. Obviously, the market is huge nowadays, so yeah, we just recommend brands that we believe and trust are going to serve those customers.
Right. Okay. How many engineers are you actually running now?
So we currently have 7 engineers on the road full time.
So you've most probably got administration staff to back that up and everything, and you've got your warehouse that I've been to once. Do
Yeah.
you pick up when you're going out to service heat pump tumble dryers? What's your procedure there now? Because you know how much
So
work they are.
yeah, with the heat pumps, we do predominantly if we can bring them back to the workshop, just because as sort of been discussed on tonight's call, um, the time frames to service them and jet washes, power washes to clean the evaporators is so time consuming. It also generates a lot of mess. So by taking them back to the workshop, servicing them there, we can make sure they're done properly and efficiently.
Yeah, so you're basically doing the same as Barry in Donegal, which is DAS Appliances. Their engineers predominantly, if they see the evaporator or condenser has got fluff buildup and it may be a broken belt or something, it will still come into the workshop for a full clean out.
Yeah, it's the best way really. We find that while on site, the averagely you're sort of taking about 2 hours to clean and service the evaporator. It's not really a job that can be done on site. I mean, our engineers don't carry pressure washers and things like that. It's not sort of a standard go-to. So by having the workshop, it means we can offer that service to bring them back, service, clean, test is the predominant thing, and make sure that the work that's been done is done properly and we can take it back knowing that it's been checked properly.
And it's very hard in a typical south of England kitchen. I mean, they're normally not that large anyway. And by the time you take the cabinet apart, take the drum out of the machine, you've got 2 screaming children running around the place that have just come home from school. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for any engineer at the end of the day, I can well imagine. And actually taking the machine away gives it a chance to have a bench test after it's been serviced as well, which means that when you take it back to the customer, it's fully working and you can sleep at night knowing you're not going to get the dreaded phone call of having to go out there again.
Yeah, and what I've sort of found while we do the service back at the workshop, sometimes we've stripped it down, cleaned it because the condenser's blocked or the evaporator's heavily blocked. We run it all up, and then we find that we haven't got the right temperatures in the compressor, which has got an underlying issue. So sometimes just servicing it and cleaning it doesn't always solve the problem. Sometimes we clean it and then we still don't get the correct temperatures inside the drum. So then we're returning a product, or if we're doing that on site, we're not finding the problems actually solved. So it just gives us the chance to be thorough and prompt, because as we've sort of said, it takes 15 to 20 minutes just to get the temperature inside the drum to make sure it's working effectively.
I imagine you service these in a similar way to the ones I've been working on and testing. I always use NTC sensors to put down into the evaporator to see that the temperature is being pulled down to a low temperature. And I might stick one on the heat outlet side to actually get a reading that the temperature is rising going back into the drum. This way, I'm able to understand that the actual compressor is pumping adequate amount of gas and the airflows are correct to actually operate at the correct temperatures.
Yeah, we actually use a really good device that's predominantly for refrigeration tools, but it actually gives us a graph and a diagram of evidently how the appliance is functioning, and we can make sure that the graphs are in line with where a heat pump are. And it's an amazing little
That
tool that
that
we found.
that I do look forward to coming down and seeing, because I built a very similar system when defrost systems were first introduced to fridge freezers. As you well know, fridge freezers were failing because the defrost systems weren't working. But it was very difficult to analyze a fridge freezer because the defrost would only take place once a day. And the graphing system that I built for that would actually show you when you plugged it in for the first 24 hours that no defrost was present because you couldn't see 300 watts of power being drawn. But
Yeah,
once you've actually let it run and replace the heater or sensor in the actual defrost system, then you could actually see that every 24 hours it would come on for about 20 minutes, which is where it would need to be to defrost the ice in the matrix.
yeah. I mean, using the sensors and the technology that's available, like say the system that we use pairs up to our phone. So it means we can factually say for repairs and things like that, yes, it's maintaining the right temperature at the evaporator and inside the drum. And without those sort of tools and the evidence to prove it, it's just one of those
Yeah,
tools that we found that really supports what we're doing.
very much so. Now, I'm going to ask you some basic questions. Majority of the tumble dryers that you go out to, how many of them are in the household in percentage terms compared to in outbuildings?
So across the board of all tumble dryers, I'd say sort of 50 to 55% of most dryers in our area are outside, in garages or outhouses.
50% in garages or outhouses. That so for
Yeah.
3 months of the year, if temperatures drop below 5 degrees, I mean they are nearly non-functional.
Yeah, a lot of the calls we sort of go to, we are just generally advising customers that these appliances can't be used in garages and outhouses. They move them inside and we never get a call back. So yeah, a lot of them aren't necessarily user error. They're just located in the wrong place, but
Yeah.
customers and consumers haven't got the space to have them indoors.
Yeah. Do you think the showrooms like Curry's, Marks Electrical and everything are putting this type of information on their products correctly? Because I have yet to see a sticker on any appliance saying this can't be used in the garage in the winter. Yeah. Or, something along those lines, because they do selectively in the manual print that it can't be used, but it's like the small print on anything today. Yeah. They're not really being open
Yeah,
with the
I think it,
information.
no, I think it comes down to the classes with the appliances, class one, class two, um, the different ratings. They're clearly evidently there, but consumer education isn't telling people what to do. Salesmen in the mainstream companies, as like Currys and AO, they're not engineers, they're not experienced in those sort of areas to tell consumers where the appliances need to be located or how they'll run. So I do find that a lot of the issues are consumer led through lack of education rather than the appliance being suited in the right purpose.
Yeah, I think this is something I've actually tested on my travels now recently, because I've been going in, my face is not recognized in every appliance store. So I'm able to walk into Currys and stuff like that, and they just treat me like general public. And I've been looking at washing machines and turning around to them and saying, can you tell me which one of these have got sealed drums and which ones haven't? And they look at you blankly. They have no comprehension of what you're talking about. And I think if you asked,
Yeah, and I think
I'm wondering if you asked the same question with regards heat pump, if you walked into Currys, into a local shop, and said, this is the difference between small businesses and large businesses. If you walk into Currys where just you have employees on the sales floor, and you ask them, can you tell me which of these tumble dryers I'm able to use in the garage all year round? I'm not sure if they could answer the question.
Yeah, and I think sort of on that is when we sort of first met, when you came down to our workshop. One of the things that we sort of spoke about was that where years ago is you had a local shop which serviced and cared for you. You'd get the right advice. However, nowadays with your mainstream sellers, especially online, you don't get that advice when purchasing an appliance. So with the heat pump tumble dryers, you're not getting the advice you should be given at point of sale. So, like for us, we offer a bespoke service. So the customer, if they're wanting to put it into a garage, they will get the right appliance if they're wishing to do that, that would work there. So I do find that I think it's consumer-led education that's sort of failing every consumer moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I always compare it. If we were going to buy a new car today and you walk into the showroom of a multinational company and you say, I'd like to look under the bonnet, they're quite happy to show you. If you go into Currys and say, can I have a look if you've got a sealed drum or not? They'd look at you blankly if they want to take the lid off the machine. It's a little bit ridiculous, really. I think people should know a lot more. Even when I went to IFA in Berlin, which is a trade show, yeah, I was asking
Yeah.
the sales staff on Samsung, LG, Daewoo, and many other manufacturers, can you tell me if this model's got a sealed drum? None of them could tell you. And that was the manufacturer's standards. It was like a disgrace. They only put there now people that are pretty, that talk nicely and everything else, and know very little about the products that they're selling.
And it's one of those things they don't need to know about the insides because they're set on sale. So as long as they're selling, they're happy. But that doesn't help consumers get the right product for their service or where they need it. So sales is great, but the fundamental is the damage to the environment and what's happening with it. Like you said in the previous one of the calls earlier, is the amount that's going to waste in refrigeration. Heat pumps are going to only end up in the same location as those ones of the refrigerators.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you've just walked into a subject now we need to talk about as well. Heat pump tumble dryers are refrigeration units. There are lots of problems with recycling in the UK already with refrigeration, and the recycling plants that are responsible for the refrigeration are closing down because there is no money in the recycling of refrigeration units anymore, because it is all government grant based instead of recycling. You see, where the money was in refrigeration before, you had a compressor that had lots of copper in. You had pipework, which was aluminium and copper. It was worth money to the scrap people. So it was economic for them to recycle the machines. But now these modern machines are coming out now with very few recyclable parts in there. Most of it predominantly is waste in some shape or format that these companies are shutting down. And, in South Wales, I don't know if you saw earlier, we've had one of the largest plants in Europe recently shut down. And then a few weeks later, the local council is putting a newspaper ad out saying that all the recycling centres can no longer take any refrigeration because the council doesn't have anywhere to take it. And we need to be addressing these problems before we start introducing and forcing legislation upon the consumer, because it's the consumer at the end of the day that's picking up the tab.
Yeah, and I mean, even on our sales and our recycling, we're very proactive to recycle everything. Um, yeah, we recycle every material we possibly can do. However,
Yeah, I've
refrigeration,
seen
by
I've seen your cardboard system. It was absolutely amazing to see someone who has a compressed system for basically getting rid of the packaging and the polystyrene and everything in the correct manner, rather than it going into just your general recycling.
yeah, and as we spoke, even elements, it's one of those things that's is not noted as a recyclable material, but elements have got their own value.
Yeah,
Every
very much
item
so.
has it. However, the heat pumps and the refrigeration, it's the local plant near us that caught on fire a few weeks ago, and we now are struggling to find another recycler. So it's with the heat pumps, we're going to have the same issue getting rid of the heat pump tumble dryers as we are the refrigeration. It's something that's not discussed, it's not spoken about, but we've, as a supplier, got to try and find a workaround to disposing of it correctly. We can't just chuck it over the fence or get rid of it like
No,
some of
no,
them
no.
do.
As businesses are, we are responsible to comply with the legislation in there, and we will get fined if we do it wrongly. Yeah. Now, a couple of questions for you. Knowing that you've had many engineers on the road for many years, and we're looking at the repairability cost for the general public when it comes to the old vented and condenser tumble dryers, which are maybe an 8-9-year-old appliance, and we look at a failure on a modern heat pump tumble dryer today, when you quote people to do the job on a heat pump tumble dryer, what is actually happening? Are they actually, what are the costs behind it in your eyes? And how how easy is it to encourage the general public to repair something rather than just replace it?
I mean, the encouragement to repair something is dependent on the brand, dependent on the quality and the cost that they spent initially. We've serviced a lot of the heat pump dryers, but the cost on some of the cheaper models far outweighs repairing it. You sort of collecting it, taking it back, 2 hours to strip it down to service it. Um, as you sort of said, the £160 earlier, it just borderline covers the cost of collecting it, servicing it,
Yeah.
and returning it. It's on a model that's £200, £40 more, they're going to get a new machine with warranty. It's
Well, they're not going to be
it,
able to buy a heat pump tumble dryer for £240. I mean, the cheapest entry level really is around the £400 mark, isn't it?
yeah, and we a lot of the more expensive, the Bosch, the Siemens, the higher end
Yep.
hot points. We take those back. They're over £1,000, some of them, but within 3 to 5 years, they're clogged up and they're blocked. So they need a good
Yeah.
service and a good clean. So it's a market that trying to educate a customer while on site that their 3-year-old machine is clogged. Um, no, it's a very hard conversation to have while you're in a customer's
Very,
home.
very much so. And this is where general public is very unfair on the actual engineers and the shop owners that sell the product. They always point the finger at the shop they bought it off, not knowing or not caring that this is just a guy that sold you a product. He didn't build it. He didn't manufacture it. Yeah. And if it fails in a 3-year period, they don't really have the right to go pointing the finger at them. And this loses distrust with the shop from the general public side.
It certainly does. And then when you have acts like the consumer law and being in the line of that, that if a customer's not happy or an appliance isn't fit for purpose, where do we stand as a retailer that sells products when a customer within 6 years can come back to us if it's not
Back
fit
to
for
you, yeah.
purpose? We're
And
then, and that's a
a lot
government.
of people a lot of people aren't aware of that law. I mean, it's like
Not,
you know, and it's so unfair that a manufacturer can sell something that is unfit for purpose, but it is the retailer then that has to fight with the company to get a replacement. And that can take weeks.
yeah, and as I mean, I'm very open and honest about managing and dealing with any of our customers. If they've got an issue, then we'll always help them and try and help solve their problems. But the Consumer Law Act is against us as a retailer, not the manufacturer. So we're dealing
Yeah.
with these appliances. If we sell them, we're the ones that, if the customers are aware of the consumer law, they're coming back to us, and we're having to try and solve these problems, not the
Yeah.
manufacturer. The manufacturers don't get any backlash from it.
Yeah, and I think this new legislation coming out or just being implemented in Europe, whether the manufacturers are just going to treat it as another one they need to circumvent, yeah. But there's a lot of new legislation that's out now in Europe, which is telling manufacturers they have to build machines with not only the right to repair act in mind, they must be serviceable and the spare parts must be at an affordable level compared to the cost of the machine. I mean, how does
Yeah.
Bosch, for example, how can they conduct themselves as a proper company when they sell a machine for £460, but yet the drum for that machine, which is now sealed, is £360? That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it is more apparent now. I saw one today, a soap dispenser at £133. It's those sorts of products that in the appliance obsolescence it's just not cost effective with some of those ones. So it's just making sure that we can try and do our best to try and curb the obsolescence and the problems that are in the industry.
You know, what's your opinion on this when it comes to a company like Miele, a company like Bosch, a company like Electrolux? Now, all those companies have multiple brands apart from Miele. They spend 20 to 30 years, 40, 50 years, some of these companies, building their reputation and are now flushing it down the pan because they are just answering only to the shareholders and the accountants or the directors of the company and not building stuff. You know, they're basically living on a name that they have built and now decide to rip off general public left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the industry just over 16 years, and the change in the industry is substantial.
Yeah.
The quality isn't there. I came into it in the last of the good era, but seeing what's being produced now with the heat pumps and the dryers and the way that they've gone, we're going to lose a lot of the way appliances were serviced and the quality that consumers should receive.
I mean, I just don't know where the world is going when we become a modular society that is just going to take a box out, throw it in the bin, and put another box in. The harm it is doing on the planet. I mean, we're going to war over resources, but yet we are creating the problem in society.
Yeah, and it's how does it change? That's my big thing
Something
for the
has
last.
to change. Something has to change somewhere. You know, it's a crazy. What's the one thing that you would try to explain to politicians with regards this legislation that's coming in? How would you explain it to a politician if, you know, because a lot of these politicians today, to be honest with you, have no real world understanding whatsoever. They are they go to school, come out with their qualifications, O levels, CSEs, whatever there is nowadays. I'm too old to remember what the latest ones are. They come out of college with their degrees and everything else, and then they go straight into politics with no real world aspects whatsoever. But yet they're forcing legislation on people and have no idea of the circumstances that they're doing.
It get- uh, I mean, it's the data, isn't it? Data proves everything. The If you looked at the data of how long an appliance lasts and the environmental impact that reproducing appliances and transportation of them, even that data alone is enough to see that there should be change. I mean, appliance quality, um, going back to the older Bosches and the first hot points, unless you understand the internals of a machine, it's a very hard one to educate somebody on.
Yeah, well, I think manufacturers are greenwashing. You know, when you consider the washing machine has really not evolved in washing in the last 50 years. Yeah, it basically fills, it turns right, it turns left at different spin speed, it heats. Yeah, it then goes into rinse cycles and it spins. Nothing has changed in 50 years. But yet the overcomplication of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, auto dosing systems, multiple different models that say it does something which really it doesn't do, yeah, because it's just a new way to put a badge on something, yeah, to sell more product. They all wanted market share in Currys. And what they've done now, and this, as you a veteran, 16 years running a business, you'll notice this. The way manufacturers have not improved anything, the game has been to acquire brands. And if we look at Beco and Beco alone, when Hotpoint was there originally in the 80s, and you had Creeder, you had Jackson, you had English Electric, you had all these other brands, they were consumed by Hotpoint, meaning Hotpoint bought them all out. Hotpoint then was acquired by Indeset. Then it started going downhill drastically. Yeah. Then it was acquired by Whirlpool. The continuing slide continued. Now it's acquired by Beco. So when you go into a showroom like Curry's and your other half turns around and says, oh, we'll have that washing machine. Yeah. And it's a hot point instead of an Indeset. They're buying the same box of components, just made to look prettier.
Yeah, and something I have a lot of discussions with customers while we're on site is the lack of brand awareness. Most customers don't know who owns what, even Neff, Bosch, and Siemens. Most customers don't know that those manufacturers are owned by the same manufacturer, and it's all marketing on the front end of it. But as a bespoke service, we're able to educate the customer, tell them what they need, tell them what they don't need, and get them the right product or give them the right education
Yeah,
that
I
they
mean,
need to
I'm
get
all
the right
for the
outcome.
French labeling
That
system,
doesn't.
Grant. Sorry, we had a time lag there. Grant, I'm all for the French labeling system, but with a few improvements. And what I'm saying is, with improvements, it should be mandatory that when you walk into a superstore, it says this machine is made by Electrolux, which also make
Yeah,
AEG, Zanussi, and so on. This machine is
yeah,
a Bosch. It is part of the group, which is Siemens, Neff, so on. Yeah? And this should be compulsory because all they're doing is hiding behind brands that have spent 30 to 40 years building their reputation, and the consumer just thinks, oh, it's an F. Well, it's a Bosch. It's just a different
that's it.
badge. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, especially with our customers, nobody understands, nobody's aware of the brand organization of what's going on behind the scenes. It's very quiet, but it's trying to when I get a lot of customers say, "Oh, well, I won't have a Beco, and but I'll have a hot point, or I won't have an Indesit, but I'll have a hot point." And it's when they go, "Oh, it's the same brand," nobody's aware of it, and this
Yeah.
is across the whole spectrum of all of our customers.
But this is the trick. I'm sorry to have to word it this way. It is the blatant trickery of the manufacturers to gain their percentage share. It's deception at the end of the day. We have to call it what it is. It is deception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think these companies now are lobbying Parliament and different governments to say, oh, look at our energy certification for these heat pump tumble dryers. No one actually turned to the government and said, by the way, they're going to fail in 5 years. You see, the government needs to create revenue because we live in a false economy. So lots
yeah,
of 20% of new sales is good for the economy when it comes to the government side. Yeah. lots of sales for the manufacturer is great, but it's not good for the environment. It's not good for the consumer. It's just lining their pockets with money in a quicker rate scale. Yeah. And I'm sorry to be
That's
so
it.
harsh on them.
It's the truth. And I think the big thing is that we look at all of this, but we don't look at the environmental impact of what all this reuse and these appliances lasting 5 to 7 years actually provides. That's not tracked, that's not noted. So when it comes to change and things like that, if it was looked in at that side of it, then the damage is massive. I mean, like you said, machines should last 20 plus years. There's no reason that they
Yeah.
shouldn't. And it's that damage and the consumer education, because most people think, oh, 3 to 5 years, I've got that, that's good enough out of my machine. But it's not long enough and it's not good enough.
Well, you've got quite a few years under me. I'm 60. I'm going to take a stab. 40. I hope I'm not
33,
insulted. 33.
33.
My apologies for that then, in the first place.
That's all
You see, that's the appliance industry wearing off on you. Yeah.
right. That's it.
But
Yeah. The grey hairs.
yeah, you'll be like this eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's something that's wrong and something that needs changing. I don't know where we're going to go. I only did this stream, although Burkeye and myself spend nearly 4 hours running a stream. I honestly think the manufacturers are going to win the game and get this legislation through. We can only try, but at the end of the day, I'm starting to think the whole system is so corrupt that it's all about economics towards governments and manufacturers, and they don't give a flying hoot about the general public. And the crazy thing, the
No,
other day, I had a message grant from someone. Oh, you must earn a lot of money from being sponsored by the appliance manufacturers. Which manufacturer would actually put their name to me? I mean, I criticize them all because I tell them what they are. Someone has got to tell the
it,
truth on this.
I mean, it's the truth behind the industry, and even with obviously the partnership on doing the appliance parts and that side of things,
Yep.
which obviously isn't part of this. But I mean, every change starts with a conversation, and my biggest one for us is change with our customers and the consumer education, because once the consumers get the right education, they can start making the right decisions. And
And I also think you've put your money where your mouth is, and that's something I'm very impressed with. Same as Starks, same as DAS in Ireland. It's very different for the small individuals to be able to achieve the capability to service these modern machines today. You have put your money where your mouth is and invested in graphing technology to make sure that you are able to detect the faults on the machines, which is what's needed, and I fully agree with that. You've also, when I've been there, invested a lot of money in pressing systems that compress the polystyrene, compress the cardboard, which then can go off to individual recyclers who will pay you for that material. And as you mentioned, with elements, because of the scrap value in elements and other bits and pieces. And, we invest money in business, but yet the government doesn't invest time in us. And I think it's a disgrace, the amount that they are not caring about small businesses today.
I mean, small business is hard enough. That's a whole nother subject. Running a company and no government support is a whole conversation. But
Yeah.
it's even if they made a small change just in the way appliances, or they allowed us to have the option to sell what sells to consumers, vented condenser, not just heat pump, it's taken away a percentage of our work. And
Very
that's
much so.
something that
And a large percentage of your work, because I have to be honest here and say in 5 years' time, all those heating elements and thermostats and belts and pulley wheels that you change on a regular basis and have done for the last 10, 15 years are all going to go out the window.
it's the small jobs. You can turn up and you can service a condenser or a vented tumble dryer, reset the stat or replace the stats, and a new capacitor or the new rear drum bearing, all of those serviceable small jobs have long gone, and that's just diminishing our work. So as a small provider that has regular customers that we service their dryers, we're not going to get that service work because the compressors aren't going to even last as long as the bearings do.
No. And, you know, when we talk about compressors and we talk about motors, they've all gone down the inverter route. And it's not the motors that are failing, it's the circuit boards.
That's it.
Would you agree
And
with that?
yeah, I mean, I've just found a really helpful guy that we're now investing in time to how we can repair the PCBs, and investigate that, as the company we were using is no longer servicing. So we found a very helpful guy that's helping us fix those PCBs. So without that and those sorts of repairs, replacing a PCB for 150, £200, we're now able to repair them. Okay, the time frames are slightly longer, but we now can investigate, find out what the failures are, replace the chips on the boards, and it's those sorts of things that are really going to make a difference to us being able to fix it. But we're having to really adapt to make those things possible.
Yeah. And I think your community, Colchester area, is privileged to have someone like you putting that effort into the local community. You know, they all think we should be driving around in Porsches, but the real world is we're only going to get a metro if we're lucky, or you know, a cheap runabout. You know, it's bloody hard work in this industry today to make a buck, and it's only the
And
big boys that are making the money.
that's it. And even when you do get a company vehicle, the government won't allow you to drive it personally because they're on us at every aspect that
Yeah, yeah.
you can. So it's
Well,
there is
you
no
know,
solution.
they're having to justify the false economy they created. My honest opinion, we are going to get to some point in society today where all the governments are going to have to put their hands up and say, we've been lying for the last 20 years. Yeah. We need to reset the economies for this to survive, or we need a different way of doing things, because this way we're doing things today is just not working. It's general public that's being forced further. The difference between rich and poor is getting a huge gap now. Middle class is vanishing. Yeah. It's all becoming one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum.
That's it, and it'd just be great to see change. And I think these sorts of calls can just highlight some of those areas for consumers to start making the right decision, and obviously support the local companies. It's brilliant.
Well, I hope you see it in your lifespan, because you've got quite a few to go. At my point in life, yeah, I'm not too sure I'm going to see the change that is actually needed. But, you know, there we go. Anyway, look, Grant, I don't want to keep you late, mate. We need to wrap it up, because I did contact Christian at Starks, but he wasn't able, and Andrew wasn't available, and that's fully understandable. It's 8:30 at night, and we've been going 3.5 hours, and I have a Turkish guy that's most probably looking at me wanting to slit my throat, because it's what is it, 11:30 there, so he's working late, but you'll get thanks for this after. I much appreciate your time and everyone that came on the show today. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time. I'm heading over to Norfolk, not Norfolk, I'm Grimsby in the next day or so. And I'll just spend a couple of minutes with Burkeye now, going through any questions that he feels needs to be wrapped up. But thanks very much indeed for your time, mate. And I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
No, thank you for your time as well. Much appreciated.
Okay, take care. Have a nice evening.
You too. Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, Burkeye, you can select whichever questions you want to wrap this up.
All
I
right.
can't be fairer than that, mate. 3.5 hours. I really do appreciate the effort and hard work.
Yeah,
And for
this is the
anyone that's
record.
watching, well, yeah, okay, it's a record, but it wasn't the point of that. We knew it was going to be a nightmare before we started. We've missed a couple of people because it's just got too late for them. But I do appreciate everyone jumping in on this. And I do only ask one thing. Think of what we've said. You've heard it from multiple angles. Watch the long video, which will be on the link or whatever, with regards the petition that we've put in. You make your own choice, because you've heard from multiple engineers. They are not interested the way it is at the moment in servicing heat pump tumble dryers, and the cost to you is going to be uneconomic. So if this legislation gets put in place, don't come back to me saying, why haven't you made videos on heat pump tumble dryers? Because you just can't. General public will not be able to service these things properly compared to vented and condenser tumble dryers. Anyway, let's take the last few questions. My voice is going. I know someone, Sean. I know someone who bought a dryer from Curry's, and there was a tumble dryer sheet stuck in the pump. So it must have been used, repackaged. I don't know how something can get stuck in the pump on a dryer, because I don't know how it would get through to the pump. You might have been talking about a washing machine. That's possible, but I can't see how any sheet gets into the pump. Anyway, next one, mate.
Actually, this is the last one about heat pump.
Oh, right, okay. Well, for everyone else that has been asking questions about washing machines, dishwashers, and so on, I apologize. This show was only about heat pump tumble dryers. You can come back on or go to the website and use the Ask Paul a Question form. I will try and keep up with everything. I've been filming for the last 2 days with up here, and now having to drive across to Grimsby. So I will be trying to catch up on all the questions and everything else. I would like to thank Burkeye especially for all the time that he's put in. Chuck your ugly face on screen so everyone can see who you are, because it's 11:30 his time and he's just an employee at the end of the day, but the backbone of my editing for videos and everything. So, well, are your lights on? No, your lights are on. Well, this is my editor, Burkeye. He's
Hello
the
again.
one that makes me look reasonably good in the videos, and puts the entertainment on as well, which he thoroughly enjoys doing. Thank you very much for sticking around for nearly 4 hours. It is much appreciated. There will be rewards long term, I can promise you. But it's a hard job that we do. Anything you'd like to say, Burkeye?
Actually, it was a long day, long night, but I think it's worth it.
Okay. Well, you don't live in a country, you live in a country where for 320 days a year you can put the washing on the line.
Exactly.
You don't have the
Even
heat
even in
pump
the winter,
problem.
even in the winter, mate.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning. I mean, you most probably only get 30, 40 days solid rain a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, and it's a different problem over there to the problem that we have in the northern part of Europe and the UK. There is, I doubt if they sell hardly any heat pump tumble dryers in your neck of the woods.
Actually, we have like for last 2 years or 3 years, it's begin to they tend to have more and more heat pump dryers.
Yeah, well, you're going to be the opposite end of the spectrum, but who needs a tumble dryer when it's 40 degrees? You can
No
just
one,
hang it up anywhere.
no
Yeah?
one. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just want it for the winter, mate, not for summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, again, thank you for all your effort. Thank you, everyone, for participating and watching. And it's good night from me. And he won't get this joke, but it's also good night from him. Sorry, that way.
Yeah, it's a really good night for me, actually.
No. It was the two. I think it was the two Ronnies back in the 70s. They were famous. Anyway, people will get the joke, but you won't. Okay.
Yeah.
Shows my age. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Ciao.